Today, we are going to be putting Nintendo Switch under a microscope and examining why it is Nintendo's best console ever. Are you ready?
Look, we're still in the Nintendo Switch life cycle, but I think the writing might be on the wall.
Yeah.
That
this era.
Like they said at the beginning, this is the culmination of everything that we have learned, and It's been an incredible generation. And we just want to take a moment to celebrate that and look at what are the reasons that got us to this amazing point.
Yeah, and I think we kind of held off on doing this episode for a long time because we both didn't really want to say goodbye to Nintendo Switch, which is special to us for many more reasons than it just being a really awesome game console. But I think it's almost time for us to move into the next era, as they say. So yeah, it's going to be fun to look back to see what made it so great.
Yeah, and this is our first episode back in the studio for
a month.
A month?
A
Is it a month? It feels like, I mean, it's certainly been a long, time.
I know.
These plants,
they have survived.
They were in sad shape. When I walked through that door,
my babies.
This plant was on life support.
Oh
I saved this plant's life. Where were you? You were still on vacation.
I told you very specifically. You were going to be don't you look at me like that. You were going to be arriving home a bit earlier than me.
I had things to do.
I said, will you please come into the office? Also, we had a heat wave here.
You're swallowing a banh mi.
I was eating my 10th banh mi.
Your body weight in banh mis.
I mean, no regrets, people. but you did text me a picture. You're like, it's not looking good.
It's not looking good.
But then you watered it and he's back.
Yes, I know plant CPR. It's been revived.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
This is our baby. We've had this plant since we started this whole venture. It cannot die, okay? Anyhow, everything survived. The studio looks great. We got some new lights. So if you're seeing our beautiful faces brightly lit.
If it looks better than before, let us know. But if it looks worse, let us know too.
Yeah. We're still adjusting it.
Yeah. Prime Day.
Prime Day.
We hammered Prime Day, yes.
But it's good to be back. Does it feel good to be back?
It's wonderful.
Wow. Yeah, now you're in slapping range of me.
I've done nothing to deserve to be slapped. We have some, maybe you've noticed, we're wearing some incredible new clothes, which is our new merch line. Get a look at this.
Yes, let me show you some of the other ones. This is designed by yet another very talented community member.
Yes, Alzanda. Who has been with us for a really long time. And we just wrapped up our last merch line, which was with the great Frulio.
Yes.
And we are moving on to the next line. Alzanda has this great kind of Yoji Shinkawa styled artwork, which is honestly unlike anything that I have ever seen outside of Yoji Shinkawa himself.
Yeah.
And so there's a number of different pieces. So there's that piece, this piece that you're wearing, and then this piece, which I think this is my personal favorite.
Yes.
Shouting today.
Today!
Codec,
Get some merch.
As one does. So all three different pieces of artwork available on shirts, sweatshirts. We got different cups, water bottles, prints, you name it.
This one's cool because it has a different design on either side.
Right.
So it's like one design on one side, one design.
Oh, I hadn't noticed that yet.
Really?
Wow.
How cool is
you
that?
Immediately claimed that when that came. You're like, that's mine, hands off.
I'm giving this to our final boss, actually.
Oh, well, that's nice too.
Aaron Hash.
Oh, and this is also double-sided.
Yes, it is.
I had not noticed
See
that.
how this is very cool?
That is great.
Yeah. So you're drinking
I'm impressed.
your tea and you're like, wait, I want to change the design. You're like, bam, drinking the coffee now. You see?
Wow.
Do you see?
Whoa.
Bam.
Up is down. It's raining cats and dogs. Okay.
Lovingly named the Big Boss Collection.
Yes.
This is available now through the end of September.
Yeah.
And then who knows what's going to happen next? Then we're getting to the holiday time.
Well, we don't know next. Is the factual truth. We don't know. So we have a couple months to figure it out.
Yeah, but I have some big ideas.
I'm still waiting to hear a big idea, but you say that a lot.
They're
and
really big.
I've heard nothing.
They're really big.
I trust you there.
Exciting
yes.
stuff.
Through the end of September. Check that out. We'll put the link in the description if you want to check that out. But it's all live now. Yes. We did a little. We have all these, great new videos in the pipeline now that we're back.
Right.
That are starting to come out. One that's out now. We did a little Nintendo World Championships of our own. We're going to be talking about the NES edition and the games we have been playing a little bit later on. But we did do a little mini competition of our own. And what? Don't spoil
I won't spoil it.
Outcomes.
It's hard.
But there was a definitive winner.
There was a definitive winner.
That was chosen.
Yes.
And, we kind of debated the fact of if you were not born in the NES era,
Oh my
are you just at an
gosh.
inherent disadvantage?
I love that thing
With this game?
that little disclaimer. That was so funny. It's like some of you are facing even greater challenges. You weren't born
They
yet.
just let the treehouse run wild on this game.
I love it. It's funny. It's
so you
true.
should check that out. That is out now.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, we are recording our Mario and Luigi spoiler cast.
Oh man.
And you are once again in
Sleepless
the
nights,
shaky
people.
predicament of having not finished the game.
This happens to me every
I don't know why
single
this
time.
happens. You're a procrastinator,
I am.
maybe?
I think the only game that I finished on time was Paper Mario.
Yeah.
But every other game in spoiler cast history this year has been like me pulling some kind of all-nighter the night before. Like college days all over again.
I finished it days ago. I'm in the
You did.
I'm in the clear.
You're in the clear.
Yes.
You moved on
I've
with
been
your
giving you
life.
tips. I've been giving you
You
advice.
have. I need all the advice because the ending of this game, and we'll talk about it in depth in the spoiler cast, is a real doozy. Let me
bit
just tell
much.
you. It's
Yes,
a bit much.
it is,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
But that will be up. I don't think we've decided exactly when, but quite soon, and certainly before
Right.
the end of the month, which we're getting close to.
Yeah, yeah.
And it might be a good time to just look at all of the great other spoiler casts that we have up now that we've got about a half dozen. We're about halfway through the year.
Yeah.
So, if it's your first time perusing through,
Got a whole bunch.
the library is growing, and they're always
Yakuza, Final Fantasy, Paper Mario,
Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear
Yes.
Solid. So many different kinds of games that
Right.
you were able to play
Scope 'em
this
out.
year. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun for us, totally. So
You were also on a big mission this weekend editing my gaming in Korea, South Korea to be
I know.
to be exact.
yeah,
To be precise.
To be very precise.
South Korea. That's
Korea.
where I went. Yes.
You had a great vacation
Yeah.
in South Korea, which looked amazing. And you were able to kind of scope out the gaming scene there, which is so fascinating because, yeah, you talk about it a little bit in the video, but it's like Korea has this like sort of history with gaming, with
Did you
esports.
know about the StarCraft Korea
yeah.
connection?
Absolutely.
I wanted to mention that because again, I don't know if everybody knows because it's kind of come and gone.
Yeah.
It's kind of run its
like
course.
run its course.
But
right, right.
around the early 2000s for
Yeah.
about a decade, it was like, oh, this is the national sport of South Korea, StarCraft.
Right. And that was the first instance of like, oh, this is like a real sport. This is a real job.
And there's an interesting story of how like the South Korean government did this big infrastructure project to, install countrywide broadband.
Yes.
So it was one of the first countries that had really strong internet infrastructure. And, all these PC games, competitive PC games really became a thing there before they did here.
Anywhere
And you would
else,
hear
yeah.
legends of like, oh my gosh, these South Korean StarCraft players can do these
Are
incredible
crazy, yeah.
things. Or they've created teams of players. It's like, what? And this is what became.
And then they became like, they were the first to have like
esports.
sponsors.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. It became like a real thing because of South Korea.
Right.
So yes, Korea has this like super interesting history with gaming. That era has definitely come and gone, but sort of new things have taken its place.
Right.
And you were able to explore and capture a lot of that. And I had a really fun time.
Well, it's been a
editing
long
it.
time coming because you've been sitting on this footage for weeks. But I did want to ask, now that you've actually gone through, did you have any big impressions or takeaways now that you've worked through it all?
I feel like I was a little surprised at how similar it was to other Asian countries. Because I thought, that sort of Japan, of course, has its own like very unique gaming history, of course. That goes without saying. And then Korea has this other piece of it that's sort of very different than Japan. But now, like when you go to Japan, Korea, we did one in Taiwan. You did one in Taiwan. I did one in China. It all starts to feel very similar in those countries now. Like the things available, the things people are gravitating.
The world is shrinking. Globalization.
I think so.
happening.
I think so. And of course, in those Asian markets, mobile games have really taken, the vice grip. So you see the disappearance across the board of like physical media and stuff like that. So it is really interesting to see how it's kind of homogenized a little bit, actually. But yeah, still very fascinating. And yeah, I'm excited to for everybody else to check out this video. And if you are someone that has any knowledge or history with gaming in Korea. Like personally, we'd love to hear your stories as well.
Yeah.
I will say that in Vietnam, not a
I was just gonna
single
ask.
thing. Nothing.
For any gaming related.
Yep.
Huh. Why do you think that is?
I don't think they've caught up yet.
Huh.
I think they're a little behind in terms of technology. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
It's really interesting. I did not see a single game store.
Yeah.
I barely saw even just sort of broader electronic things. There are some in big cities like Ho Chi Minh City or Hanoi. Some sort of computer markets, things like that, or computer stores, but real hodgepodge. And I really didn't see a dedicated gaming presence anywhere. Maybe I missed it. There are some places where you can play in arcades and stuff like that. But,
arcades.
Or they have sort of TVs and systems set up so you can play multiplayer games with your friends, almost like cafes.
Yeah.
But in terms of huge established stores and things like that, I did not see that in Vietnam.
One other thing, and I mentioned this in the video, but I had a bit more time after I finished that video. I saw absolutely nothing for Stellar Blade.
I'm so surprised by that.
Whole 2 weeks I was there, nothing. I expected
wonder-
to see a big booty butt on a billboard. I would have loved to have seen that. I saw
Isn't
nothing.
it some hottie Korean model that was the body double for this character?
I mean, the game did come out a couple months ago, but in Asia, they really have these big campaigns, and these games are everywhere. Nintendo World Championships was everywhere instead. So maybe it had just come and gone, or maybe it wasn't that big of a deal there. It was more.
I was going to say maybe
here.
it was made for the Western market
I don't know.
or something.
I thought that was surprising, though.
That's really surprising. Yeah. They didn't really celebrate that it was a game developed in Korea. I mean, those gaming studios in Korea are coming up.
It's getting big.
Getting big.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anyways, yes, gaming in Korea, fascinating stuff.
Last thing we've got coming up is we are returning this week to San Diego Comic-Con, which is a show that we have not been to in
quite some time.
Count them, 5 years.
Has it really been 5 years?
2019 was the last time, and then the show was offline for the pandemic for a couple years, and then we'd kind of gone our separate ways, and we're going for one of the companies we help with marketing consulting, so we're probably not going to be making a lot of videos out there.
No.
But if you're at the show, come say hi.
Yeah.
If you see us around.
If you see us around, come say hi.
It'll be interesting to just see what's come of it. We were looking at the show floor layout, and that used to be a very gaming heavy show. Now it seems like it's not at all.
Yeah, now it's really back to
basics.
Bread and butter, which is comics.
Still a lot of TV movies. Entertainment.
Yeah, yeah, but not a lot of gaming. Nintendo's not going to be there.
Not from what I can tell, unless they have some secret, but they haven't made any announcements for it, so I guess
they
not.
Probably don't have it because they used to have a small booth inside the convention center, and then they do that thing in the Marriott, which is a bigger space.
Yeah.
And we've done tons of stuff that they used to do live shows from there. We
did a giant Wii U preview event there.
We did a Wii U preview
1 year,
event.
so.
We've done meetups. We've done media stuff. We've done all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
We've done celebrity yachts in the past.
Celebrity yachts.
Celebrity
yes.
yachts.
Who hasn't done a celebrity yacht?
Who hasn't been on a celebrity yacht? I don't know who you are. I definitely have multiple times.
Great.
Rubbing the elbows of the rich and famous.
Wow.
Rubbing the Joy-Cons of the rich and famous.
Okay.
But yeah, it's such a. I feel like it's different now, but
Yes.
I'm interested and curious to see.
We'll report back next week.
We will report back on our findings.
But yes, that is the big message. If you are there and you see us, that is us, and please say hello.
That is us.
You might not know.
It's not
I look different these days.
Walter White in a Walter White mask, like
that
Bryan
that's
Cranston.
amazing, yeah.
It's not Kid Ellis in a Kid Ellis mask.
I should get some of those.
What if you get a wig that's your old hair?
Oh.
That could
And
be.
I could put that on in a pinch.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're like, it's still me.
That's not a bad idea.
A wig of your old hair.
I mean, this hair is growing. I mean, in not too long, it'll be there.
Is it going back?
No.
Oh.
It's going to be something different, but we don't know what that is yet.
Okay. Anyways.
Yeah.
All right. Calm though.
Comic-Con.
Say hi.
Yes. All right. Let's get into this wonderful conversation about Nintendo Switch and what made it Nintendo's greatest system ever. But first, we have a sponsor to shout out. This episode is sponsored by HelloFresh.
Thank you, HelloFresh.
With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. skip trips to the grocery store, and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. You know who can't be bothered to go to the grocery store? People who just came back from a weeks-long international trip.
Again.
Forget that.
Such a savior to me after 2.5 weeks abroad. It is so crazy because you come home and you literally have no food at all at home. My fridge was empty. I had sriracha. That was it. It was really bad. But I was smart. I had that HelloFresh delivery
lined up.
That's
right. Have it ready.
And it came the day after I came back. So the next day I had a couple of meals ready to go. And it was great. You know, all the ingredients were fresh, pre-portioned. I could whip it together really easily and just be able to catch up on the rest of my return from vacation chores. It was perfect.
It's summer. It's time to take it easy. Take it, have a little bit of relaxation, get off your grind. They do have some limited time seasonal recipes, stuff like Old Bay shrimp and sausage.
So good.
Or grilled steak, lettuce wraps. I think Old Bay is a very underrated seasoning.
Yes,
I'm waiting for the big moment for Old Bay seasoning. Maybe this will be it.
New Bay?
But put that on some.
Just spell it B-A-E. New Bay.
New Bay.
And then we'll really be onto something.
That might be a bit of a departure, but okay.
Branding here.
There are over 50 recipes for you to choose from every single week, so you will definitely find something that you think is going to be great. And guess what? It is going to be great.
Yes, and you can really reduce your food waste. I have done this where you go to the grocery store and you only need two things of the big giant thing that you had to buy.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it just gets thrown out. You get to not do that and be a little bit more environmental.
Yes.
Yeah.
So go to HelloFresh.com/Kit Krysta apps for free appetizers for life.
Whoa.
One appetizer item per box while your subscription is active. That's free appetizers for life at HelloFresh.com/Kit Krysta apps. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit.
And we'll put the link right over here and also in the description below.
All right. Nintendo Switch.
Wow.
And what makes it Nintendo's greatest system ever?
Yeah.
We each came up with our own list independently.
Why are you going?
So again, don't look. Don't look at my list.
Nope.
Don't copy my work.
Nope. I already have my work.
Were you one of these people in high school that you're just get a little looky when you're taking a test?
That. They used to have to put up those dividers.
Oh.
Do you remember that?
Like a GoldenEye game?
Yeah. It was like a bio test, but a GoldenEye game. But they did. No one cheated, okay?
I bet somebody did. How? And it was you.
It wasn't me. I didn't. I studied. I swear. Where's your list?
Again, here you go. Okay. I'm waiting for it to pop up so I can steal your ideas. Why don't you go first?
Okay.
Do you have these in any sort of ordering or grouping?
I don't. Do you have
mine
it?
Sort of are.
Okay. Do you want to give me your category and then we can go there first?
Fine, I will just go first.
Okay, fine. I won't look, I promise.
I do kind of want to work big to small, though.
Okay.
The system had a gimmick that was not actually a gimmick. It was actually something that enhanced everybody's play experience, was appealing to everybody, and broadened the possibilities of this system more than other gimmicks we have seen, specifically from Nintendo in the past.
Yeah.
So starting with the Wii, we started to go down the gimmick path of life.
Right.
And Wii was hugely successful. You can argue if the Wii was a gimmick or not, but it certainly had some gimmick-like aspects to it, where it's yes,
motion
games
control.
where you're waggling, those can be fun, but there are some other experiences that don't need waggling.
Right.
And you're just,
trying to shoehorn things into it.
Holding a Wii remote, or you're playing, the Wii Pro Controller, and then, we had stuff like the 3DS. That 3D ended up being, kind of a big nothing.
Right.
And then the Wii U was the ultimate incarnation of this, where it's like there's a very narrow subset of games that this is actually intended for,
right?
And then everything else just kind of felt shoehorned into it. So play anytime, anywhere with anyone. A hybrid console that's both a handheld and a home console. Is that a gimmick? I would say no, but it was a huge innovation in gaming.
Yeah, that was the number one thing that I wrote down as well. I said that it actually changed the way we played games and did exactly what the marketing line promised. Like, marketing lines are marketing lines. They're written to make you buy something, not to actually factually describe the experience to you. But Nintendo Switch factually described the experience to you. Like, it literally did that, and we all lived it for like 7.5 years. We did that. We played anywhere, anytime, and with anyone. We quite literally changed the way that we experience games because of this feature. I'm not going to call it a gimmick because I don't think it is. And that's like something that doesn't happen very often. It really is like a shift in the way that people experience games. The way that I personally play games has totally changed because of the system. And I don't know if anything is going to come around that's going to do this for a long time.
And it was the rare innovation that seems to have not really been on anybody else's mind at the time.
Yeah.
Because, we are just now starting to see this boom in the handheld PCs.
Right.
But, and we've seen Sony try to scramble and get the PlayStation Portal out there, and Xbox with streaming. It's like, oh, play this on whatever, and you got stuff like the backbone, but there's not like the systems. Like, this is the thing, and it is made to do all of these things right away. Even almost 8 years later, it's really amazing that nobody has been able to catch up to this idea that they came up with long, long, long ago. Right.
That was sort of my next thing that's very related to this is there's a simplicity in this idea. And the system overall has this beautiful simplicity. Like, everything is kind of bare bones, and people can argue whether or not that is a positive or negative. A lot of people say, like, oh, I wish I had more personality, myself included sometimes. But, like, the simplicity and sort of just the basic, the focus on the basic functionality of what it should do, they did that. And it worked every time. And you don't need it didn't break. You didn't need to do anything complicated to get it to work every time. You turned the thing on. When you docked it, it worked. When you undocked it, it worked. It just worked. And it was very simple and bare bones. But you know what? A lot of things don't even work. So way to go, Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, that's true. I want to add on to that thought in a bit, but I have one more that I want to get off that I think is just like fundamentally really important, which is like they got the design of the Nintendo Switch right from day one.
Yeah, I wrote that down too.
This was not like a DS fat situation where it's like, well, this is the best we can do for now and we'll get it there later.
Yeah.
But like even like when we saw the thing for the first time before it had released, it was like, oh my gosh, this feels like incredibly sleek and like thin.
Yep.
Like the tablet part of it is like, oh my gosh, how are they cramming this thing in here?
Right.
Never had like a full-on redesign. So we've had iterations. We've had like the Switch OLED and the Switch Lite, but they were all just building upon this basic design, which they nailed from the very moment, which is so unlike Nintendo.
Yeah.
Where the Wii U got railed because it's like, oh, well, this is like a Fisher Price. This is like my first iPad, my first tablet, the Wii U gamepad.
Right.
Like the first 3DS was a
little shaky.
A little weird.
Yeah.
DS obviously went through all those iterations. Like that was just kind of the Nintendo way of like, we'll hammer out these kinks along the way and we'll get you to buy a bunch along the way.
Yeah.
And this was like, no, this is perfect. And we'll find other ways for you to buy it again and again.
They really didn't have that many iterations. They had OLED and they had Lite.
Right.
But the form factor of the original Nintendo Switch was that.
It still is incredible.
And people still, millions of people, more than millions, hundreds of millions of people still have the original Switch.
Right. So I think that helps like with the longevity is, at a certain point some devices start to feel old and dated. And when I play a Switch in handheld mode, like I don't feel that way at all.
Yeah.
I feel like this is still... It still feels cutting edge to me, especially when I'm going from a situation where I'm playing on a Steam Deck, which is big for a reason. Like it has a reason.
A lot of guts in it.
Like I cannot believe how dainty and petite this Switch is in my hands.
Baby.
Like what? How did they do this? This is so unlike them.
Yeah.
But I think it played a really big part.
Yeah. I do remember that feeling. I wrote that exact same thing down. I said that both the form factor and the OS was actually pretty baked from day one. Like they just they like it was just good. Like it just again, the thing was what it is and it just worked. And then when we I think that first moment when we picked it up, it was a moment of like real, just like a wow, because yeah, you just kind of understood it right away, and it just felt so good in your hands, and you're like, oh, I get it. Like, this is gonna work.
Yeah.
People are gonna love this.
There were even some choices on the hardware that, were very forward looking.
Yeah.
Like the choice to use USB-C in 2017, not everything was on USB-C. And they could have very easily said, like, yeah, we're on the old clunky USB where you don't know which way to put it in.
I hate that. I love USB-C.
And now everything is USB-C. They were on, like, that was like one of the first USB-C devices I had, was a Nintendo. Like, what is this plug? Like, oh, this is the new USB. Well, this is nice. Okay.
And then Apple had it like right afterwards.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, like...
They were like a little cutting edge.
It's a very unlike Nintendo thing to do, but they really kind of changed their mindset and were like, no, I think we want this to be a little bit future-proof and feel a little bit ahead of its time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then you can see it kind of play out because there weren't that many, crazy redesigns. There was not a need to, because it was really baked from that first Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
Next.
Games?
Games.
Okay.
Games, though.
Explain.
Probably the best library of exclusive Nintendo titles of all time is on the system. Some of the best games for franchises that were, a little shaky, like Zelda. We talk about Zelda a lot and how it was reaching a very limited audience. We were at Nintendo at the time, and we were like very much questioning like, what is the future of this series? And then bam, here comes Breath of the Wild that changed everything.
It's a Wii U game.
It's a Wii U. You're right, it's a Wii U game. Actually, let's go back to the Wii U. Forget the Switch.
Actually, this whole thing.
Forget the Switch. Wii U is the best system ever. I think it's undeniable that, we talk so much about that first year and how incredible that first year lineup was. But I think the overall lineup of first-party exclusives on Switch was just the best of every franchise is represented on the system. Just really incredible.
Yeah.
Like, you got the best.
Right.
Of everything.
I mean, I'll add to what you just said by noting, and it is kind of like a no-duh sort of thing, but combining all of the Nintendo development resources onto a single console. And it's really amazing, like, what the output could be.
Yeah.
And it's like, obviously it's going to be a lot, and it's going to be more than you got on a previous system. But even I am surprised at the amount of output that this made possible. Aren't you?
I am. And it does seem obvious, and it is a very small team that used to do both, the handheld side, the DS, 3DS side, and then the console side. And now they've joined forces, and then that's what you get. The result is you get the best game of that series on one system.
That would be, I don't know if anybody's done that, like adding up, like maybe in the Wii and DS generation, if you add up all the first-party games, how does it compare to the number of first-party games on the Switch?
Someone do the math.
I'd actually really like to see that number, actually.
Yeah, who can do the math for us?
I'm sure somebody will do that for us. But yeah, and it is kind of a underrated risk that they took on of like, we've talked about the multiple pillars sustaining this business and those being different pieces of hardware. So streamlining down to one, it's like, we know we're going to have a great lineup, but like financially, like, is this going to work out?
It's a lot of eggs in one basket.
And there were people who pointed that out leading up to that point of like, I mean, we're coming off of like definitely not a hit with the Wii U and like a marginal hit with the 3DS, like, but is this the right decision to consolidate everything? And obviously it was.
Yeah.
But there was no way to know that at the time.
Right. True. There was no way to know at the time. And also I think there was this sense of like, this needs to work or else we're in a really bad spot.
Yeah.
Like, or else, or, like there is that like sense of, we have to make this work.
Had to work.
It had to work. It just had to. Oh my gosh.
And everybody was very focused on making it work.
Exactly.
Too. Like nobody was blind to that fact of like, if we have another dud like the Wii U,
would be fun. Big whoop.
Big deal. We'll just wait another 6 years and we'll try again.
It was like this is it.
No, this is we have to pull this off.
Yeah. The other thing that was really interesting, now that you mentioned this consolidation of resources into a single system, is that it did give Nintendo this new angle and like breathing room to do the entertainment stuff. Because I think by consolidating all this into one system, you had like the pillar of games and obviously Nintendo's like bread and butter. But then they started to do like more entertainment things in that same era with like the Universal stuff, with the Mario movie. And that became like another, like one of their major business pillars too. So it kind of gave them like a bit of creative breathing
You take
room.
one pillar away and you add another one.
You add another one. You get some room there, you know?
Yeah, back to the software releases.
Yeah.
And again, like they had this benefit of having a system. Why do you keep looking over there? What's going on?
I want to know if the camera's still recording.
Well, why don't you go check?
It's fine.
That sounds important for you to check.
The angle of the lights is a little different, so now I have like, I can't really
Like,
see.
what's going on over there?
Can you see?
Is it like a cat burglar? Well, I want to add to what I was just, talking about with the software library, because they really have been able to pull off, since this thing came out, it feels like a first-party game like every month.
Right.
Just about. I'm sure there have been times where they've missed a month.
A little bit of a gap.
But it has been extremely consistent, and you contrast it to something like, Microsoft and PlayStation, where it's like they seem to struggle to get any sort of output going on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And it's like, I kind of understand it. Like the games that you're making are much bigger in scope, but you feel those gaps. It's like, there's not much happening for the next 3 months. It's like it's like Nintendo in the N64 days. It's like, we're living through these gaps.
Yeah.
And when we were at Nintendo, they made a big deal about like, we've sold this many systems, but how many people are actively playing those systems? Mm-hmm. And with the 3DS, like there was a lot of understanding of like, a lot of these are not being played. Like they're in somebody's desk drawer and they ain't coming out.
Yeah.
And this is now a number that Nintendo talks about a lot of like, people are still playing these things. Like the number of these that we have sold that are still in use is incredibly high. And I attribute it to a lot of this is like, games just come out, boom, boom, boom. So you finish a game, you're just moving on to the next one. You don't have that downtime to put it down, put it away and forget about it and go on to something else. Like it is really underrated how many games and how consistently they have been released for almost 8 years.
That was something that was so important at Nintendo, this idea of being an active player.
Yeah.
And they really got it. Like they understood that once you put it down, the energy it's going to take to reacquire that person is exponentially higher. And it is sometimes impossible to get them back. So to keep people in your ecosystem, you have to be on this grueling schedule. Like we lived it in terms of launches. Like we were on that treadmill of launching a game every month. Mm-hmm. It's like once a game is launched, you're on to the next game, on to the next game. But as a fan, now that we are, we just get to enjoy the great, just schedule of games that come out. I don't feel like I've ever gone more than, a month or so without picking my Switch back up again to play something.
Right.
And that is because that schedule is so well done. Mm-hmm. And so like filled. And 7.5 years later, they're still doing this. Kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And then the last thing I'll say on that point is, a couple weeks ago we ranked all the years of Switch output, and I think we agreed 2017 was the best. Oh, well, you had the wrong opinion that 2020 was the best.
No, I said 2017 was the best, but 2020 was my second one.
I mean, that year itself needs special recognition for multiple reasons of just, if anybody needed an indicator that Nintendo was back, that Nintendo was taking this generation really seriously, that year was it. It's like, there's no doubt. It's like, yes, I'm going to get this. There is already a great lineup. Clearly, they are on their A game. There will continue to be a great lineup for this. So nobody had to ask that question of like, oh, is this going to take off? Like, again, 3DS. We waited almost a year for any games of note to be released for that system that had just come out.
Right.
And that sucked.
That was bad.
That was really bad.
The Steel Diver days, that ain't good, people.
Steel Diver is not carrying this thing.
No, it really wasn't, truly.
Man.
It was bad.
So that's just so important, and I'm sure something they're thinking about for the Switch too. But then also, again, in hindsight, just the bravery to cut off the faucet for the Wii U and say, like, we're gonna
moving on, people.
We're gonna turn our attention to the next thing. This isn't happening. all of our top teams are just going to get started and we're going to really come out with a bang with this next system. I feel like in other scenarios or other companies might be like, well, we still have to keep trying, like there's still a shot, or our financial position is precarious, so we need to keep making money at some certain rate, where they were just like, no,
we're done with this.
This isn't working, pull the plug.
Yeah.
Let's get ready to move on.
Yeah. I think that I felt like an easy decision at the time because we were just living in the sad Wii U days, as we called it. And it was like just this want and need to move on to the next thing that we knew was going to be good and that we all wanted to focus on anyway. So at the time, in the moment, it felt super easy. Like, yeah, obviously, why would we keep holding on to this old junky thing? Moving on. But in retrospect, it is kind of risky. Like if you think about it, even if it wasn't doing that well, like you still had an audience for it. So yeah, to do that very like brutal, like that's it, cut it off. It was a brave business decision, I think, in retrospect. The other thing about 2017, I think, and this is also like another obvious statement, but when you look at it again from where we are now, it's like the power of setting yourself up for success is just so important.
What do you mean?
Like, when Switch came out, everything was we got everything right. Like people understood what it was. The lineup was so strong. Like you just knew that year was going to be awesome.
Yeah.
But think about like when we launched like Wii U and things like that. Like that did not have that same feeling because it wasn't like set up to succeed really. So it's like that thing where if you get off to a strong start, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna maintain. You're gonna have a much easier time. But if you get off to a really rocky start, it's gonna be so hard to like walk it back.
Yep.
And yeah, in retrospect, it's like 2017 could not have gone any better. Like if they could just replicate 2017 for 2025 for Switch 2,
we're gonna try.
You're gonna have to try.
Yeah.
But they need to do like that again. They need to capture that again because that worked. And I think it set up this like generation for its continued success.
Right. Going back to what you were saying about how it's it's a very simple but a focused experience. I would add to that, it's a fast and a snappy experience too.
Yep.
Which I think is especially important given the handheld nature of it and really wanting it to be something that people have with them all the time, that people are ready to pick up at a moment's notice and play here and there. Like, listen, if this thing had a boot up like the Wii U, this would not have worked. Because nobody, if it's like, well, I have 10 minutes to play, but I'm going to spend a minute and a half waiting for the thing to boot up, I'm just not going to pick it up.
Yeah.
So I think that is really underrated. That again, if you're after all these years, sometimes these systems, it's like your old phone. Like over time, as all these updates come out, it's like this is not what it used to be. This thing's really slow. When I hit that button and I hit the 3, I'm in.
It does not have any sense of slowdown.
eShop accepted. Not counting the eShop, which has become a complete disaster.
The eShop is a disaster, but we're not going all the time.
Everything else is just as fast as it used to be. And I know people say, oh, I want the themes, I want the personality, I want the music in the eShop. All of these things would have bogged it down just a little bit and would have taken it away from what it is, which is this super fast experience.
Yeah. And then the UI is really simple, too.
Right.
It's like you just have the little boxes with the games that you're playing. You scroll and press the A button and you're in a game. That's what...
Right.
That is what it's there for you to do, to get into a game as fast as possible.
Yeah, I mean, again, the Wii U is the one that's in the crosshairs most of all for being slow, but the 3DS got really slow too.
3DS
over
was slow
years.
Too. We turned it on the other day and we were like, what the heck is wrong with this thing?
What's going on here?
Yeah.
And again, it was something where they just kept adding stuff to it, adding little knickknacks and doodads.
Folders and themes.
And it's like, I mean, there are trade-offs to all of these things, and I will take the trade-off that keeps it, really, really quick.
But like, make the next one better though, so that it has more power.
But put the folders and themes, you're saying.
And also Street
and the
Pass,
music, and the Street
music,
Pass,
and then like the Miiverse,
and the Badge Arcade, and the Miiverse, yes.
And, the Badge Arcade.
Yes, we need the Badge Arcade.
Oh my goodness, that is what I want. Yes.
Have a complete mess of badges on your home screen. That won't slow it down at all.
I want 15 million stickers and themes and full.
That little wheel circles around trying to.
Forget the eShop. Just 50 million badges.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What else you got here?
Let's talk about multiplayer. And
All right.
yeah, I mean, like, it's cheesy. The rooftop party.
Yeah.
The share the Joy-Con.
Oh, sharing a Joy-Con.
The cute little kickstand when you take off. But you know what? We did it. We do it. We play it like that. We really do.
Yeah.
And it is like it sounds so like lame when you're like multiplayer out of the box, but it really is. It really is. Like you can do this.
Yeah.
And it's fun. Guess what? You know, when you have people over, when you bring this thing to somebody's house, when I'm with my little cousins, we do this.
Yeah.
We were in Vietnam together, all of us playing Smash. People had Joy-Cons from different systems that we were syncing so we can play 8-player Smash.
I mean,
you know,
look,
come on.
it's easy for us to scoff at as like people who play games like every single day of
Yeah.
like, oh, I would never, play on a Joy-Con. But there is something magical, of those social situations that otherwise like could not
exist,
happen or exist. Yes, you're compromised playing on a Joy-Con, but the alternative is just not playing
at all. Yeah.
So I think that's one of those things where it's like I wouldn't put it at the top of this list, but it definitely belongs on the list.
It's a feature that is an easy throwaway, I think, because you think about all the other great things about Switch, and there are many. But this is, and I recently lived this, and so I was just like, yeah, this rocks. Like, this is great. Like, we legit had this situation where we were all together and we were sharing an Airbnb on vacation.
Sure.
And people brought their Switch. Like, we had like multiple Switches, and we wanted to play Smash. There was like 8 people, and we were able to sync multiple Joy-Con. We were able to like get a game going. And guess what? It was really fun. It was really fun. And like, that's not possible because, one, no one's really carrying other consoles with them.
Right.
Like, the only thing that people had with them were a Switch, And it was simple and it worked. And yes, you're not like playing competitive Smash on your tiny little Joy-Con.
Right.
But it worked and it was fun.
It seems like an uncopyable thing too. Like the Steam Deck's not even trying.
No.
To do this. Like there are some of those handheld PCs that have like a Joy-Con type thing, but it's like this is just stop.
Yeah, the Ally, I think that's the Asus one.
And soon with the power of magnets, we can continue this.
Not the magnets,
power of magnets
again.
Yes.
It's gonna like hook into your brain. But yeah, I just it sounds so gimmicky and like lame, but it really does work and it really is fun.
Yeah. The next thing I want to bring up, it's a bit crunchy, is, it was, by all accounts, easy to develop for.
Yeah.
Especially compared to what we heard about the previous systems, specifically the Wii U, where it's like, this is really hard and unusual, and it was a case where, you heard like Nintendo didn't even have its own, development software figured out or completed for some certain amount of time. I'm not a programmer, so I can't speak on this to too much specificity, but it is something that we heard about again and again of like,
that's right.
This is actually like nice to make a game for versus like it's pulling teeth, like teams don't want to do it. It's a lot of extra work.
Right.
And that makes a big difference. You talk about bringing back third-party support, which is the next thing that I think is important to mention because it was a wasteland before. I think there's a lot of reasons why third parties came back, but making it something that was reasonable to do and something that, developers didn't roll their eyes at having to do was a big part of that. Yeah,
totally. I think that gave even more depth to the Switch library, which, if you coupled the amazing first-party exclusives with all of the third-party games, the ports that came over, the games that never came to, the Nintendo hardware ever were able to come to Switch. Yeah. Like, amazing stuff, that the ease of development on that hardware made it possible. That, and it became the indie machine. Yes. I mean, obviously Steam is probably the one thing, but I think Switch makes it accessible for like a very different, much bigger audience to discover an indie game. And because it was so easy to develop on, like that is what people had called it for like a long time. It's like, this is like an indie machine. Like
this has become kind of an underrated indicator of like who's going to win a generation.
Yeah.
It used to be like, Xbox 360 has like, Xbox Live Arcade and all these smaller games can come out, and they really ran with that. And then they dropped the ball the next generation, and PlayStation became this huge indie machine. They were having indies up on their E3 showcases. It was such like, oh my gosh, they're giving the spotlight to the indies. They love indies. And then they dropped the ball, and Nintendo was glad to pick that up and run with it.
Right.
I'm so curious what happens with them on Switch too. But yes, like this is a critical win as far as having a bigger library of games. Now you have all these indie games at the same point that indie games started to get incredibly good and could stand toe-to-toe with first-party releases. I agree. Going back to like the point of the bigger third parties, like what were the reasons that brought the third parties back? Because it's not just that it was easier to make.
Yeah.
Like I think there were like a couple things
they definitely,
that we should talk about.
Yeah, you're right. Before that, it was like a complete wasteland, and no one wanted to be there.
And people were pulling out. There was the unprecedented partnership that went nowhere.
Yeah, that went nowhere. Yeah. I think after people realized the audience potential for Switch, it was like, oh, we're all back in. We're all back in. And this idea of getting access to the Nintendo Switch audience is something that is extremely attractive to a lot of developers, a lot of publishers, and I think that is something that just grew with time as well. And yeah, like to get access to it, you have to be on the system. So
yeah, I mean, there's some like soft reasons too. It's like we've heard from a lot of developers like they want to make games on Nintendo systems. They do have like this affinity for Nintendo. So I think like all things equal, like they would like to do that on a Nintendo system. I think a lot of them, like, and you heard this, like when the system was first unveiled, like they were just impressed with the form factor. Again, it was something they had never seen before, probably something they hadn't really thought about of like, oh, this game that I had made to be played on a TV, take that with you. That's really neat. And I think that just won over a lot of people, a lot of the decision makers, the really high up developers, like, yeah, let's do this. And then it was just powerful enough to run, the Skyrims,
the Witchers
of the world, the Witchers, and I probably all these things in conjunction made these developers think like, yeah, let's give this thing a shot. Like Bethesda's not been making Nintendo games before, but like it was just this perfect storm of situations and the specifics of the hardware that made them say, yeah, let's do this, even though you're coming off of a total dud with the Wii U. Like we want to be back in the Nintendo business.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to look at like what were the specific factors, because it was not just any one thing that brought all those people back.
Nintendo has some clout,
Yeah, and some people may like laugh at that, but it's like we have heard that from developers. Like, no, like it means a lot to me personally
that Nintendo reach out to
have
me.
A game on a Nintendo system. Like I grew up playing games. That was my first experience with games. Like I do still have a soft spot. Like we heard that again and again.
The nostalgia factor.
It's not everybody, but a lot of people.
The nostalgia factor is real, even if it's not just you like loving a game as a fan. Yeah. Like people's nostalgia, the way that you grew up and the way that you first experienced games and your first relationship with Nintendo like bleeds into your professional life, And then that's totally what happened with so many of these third-party developers.
Yeah. How many you got left?
I have 5 more left.
Okay, I've got 4 more.
Okay.
Wow, we got a lot.
Oh, okay.
I'll go next.
Oh, wait, I already did one of these.
I do want to talk about Nintendo Direct. The Nintendo Direct hype machine.
Oh, yeah.
The pre-Switch Nintendo Direct, everybody has a soft spot for because it had a lot of personality and it was kind of finding its way. But, it did have some downsides where there was a lot of, well, this Direct's going to be in this region only, and this Direct, it's going to be in 2 of the 3, or all these games are not going to. There was a lot of complicated factors that there's like, it made it hard for it to become this global tool.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, it was like, no, we're locking this down. In 99% of the case, this is for the entire world to see, and we're going to synchronize that. And it's going to be on this set schedule. Like they were doing a lot of Nintendo Directs before for little like one-off things, like a lot of title Directs for smaller games.
Mini Directs?
The minis. Yes.
The Mini Direct was...
And around this time, they did start to consolidate and say, like, no, this is the thing. All the news is going to go in here, and we're going to do them, a couple times a year, and they're going to be really big. And that's what happened. And again, it's one of these things that people have tried to imitate. Sony's tried to imitate it. Xbox has a thing that's called a Direct. They can't imitate it.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, nobody can imitate this thing. And it is like, you think of in all of entertainment, it's like one of the most powerful promotional tools that I can think of.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
I mean, one of those things that I would put in that echelon is about to happen, like the Marvel panel at Comic-Con.
I was going to say Hall H.
That's one of the
Yeah.
things that I would put up there, where people just have these incredible hype moments of like, oh my god, I just saw.
And you expect to hear news.
The 5-year roadmap for Marvel movies.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for the entire generation, like they've kept this as this incredible mythical thing where, people change their schedules, people
Predict around.
speculate for months,
yeah.
get hype for months.
Basically,
the
like
rumor
live
mill,
your,
the leakers, all of the above.
You live your life around the Nintendo Direct schedule.
Right.
now.
So the Switch Nintendo Direct is really a different beast from the pre-Switch Direct.
It's like that whole thing culminated into like three things. It's like they decided to simplify everything, which they did with consolidating the development teams into one hardware. They did the same thing with Direct. They decided to simplify it so it becomes global.
Yeah.
They really just like optimized every aspect of not only the development of the hardware, but also the promotion of it as well. And it worked. People don't have the attention span to do all these different things. I feel like they got it right, where save your news for these big moments in the year. Don't overcomplicate your message. Just go out there, and people have expectations now of what a Nintendo Direct should be, and make your new announcements, and everybody is happy. Don't try to rock the boat here. It works and it's fine. Yes, we want to see Mr. Iwata looking at bananas. I love that too. Maybe we can inject some personality into it, but at the core of it, it's like, I'm here to just know what's going on. What game are you releasing in the next 6 months? That's what I'm here for,
Yeah.
And they do a good job of that.
Yep.
Okay, I have another thing that's like a little smaller, but I do think that Switch had some pretty great accessories. Like the Pro Controller is really great. It's probably one of the best controllers of all time.
Sure.
And for the people that love things like Ring Fit, they had some really good.
Okay. Labo?
I'm not a Labo lover.
I almost got you to say yes there.
But there were some of these offshoot things that were pretty successful.
Okay.
And they use parts of the Switch technology and they use the Joy-Con in many different ways,
Right.
But yeah, it had some pretty interesting accessory moments in its life.
I mean, the Joy-Con itself is very versatile.
Yeah.
And I think most people, again, if you're a really dedicated player, a lot of people say well, it's got drift. And it's okay, well, maybe that's an issue, but it does have, a lot of tech going on in this
little bitty thing.
In this little thing. And it was cool how it could be modular. It could plug into something like the Ring Fit ring and do all this stuff with that.
Or you can put it around your leg to
and the IR camera.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is
the IR
cool.
camera. Yeah. They had some interesting tech involved in it.
This one maybe people could debate, but I do think it helped was, it being a system that was focused entirely on games and keeping out those entertainment apps for a period of time.
Yeah.
Now there's a couple. Still don't have Netflix.
No Netflix.
But that had been the path of these gaming systems for so long of yes, it plays games and it's going to be the hub of your living room.
Yeah.
And they fell trapped to that too with the Wii U. We've got Nintendo TV and it's going to be, the focal point and it's going to bring your family together. And that was, Xbox's big mistake with the Xbox One as well.
Yeah.
And in 2017, that was a different direction, especially as, the saturation of iPads and phones continued to grow and grow.
Yeah.
Of no, this is all it does, and it's the best thing out there for that
one thing.
For that one thing.
Yeah.
So don't get too interested in something that's a jack of all trades but a master of none. This is the master of this.
Oh, master of this.
This is the master of gaming.
Yeah.
So that's why you will want to get it.
Yeah.
And it was true. Like, some people moaned about it, like, oh, my Netflix. It's like, well, you have everything else to play Netflix.
Yeah.
I still don't know why there's not a Netflix app.
You want the Netflix?
I got pulled into a meeting at Netflix once.
Oh, that's right.
And I got absolutely yelled at by this person from Netflix.
You're like,
I was like,
I'm
just here for, I just got asked to come to this meeting. And they're like, how come the communications department is not supporting the Netflix app? Like,
there is no Netflix app.
well, this was before Switch.
Oh, this is Wii U. Okay.
So maybe I don't care.
Oh, I canceled my Netflix. Yikes.
Okay.
Yes, I think they learned a hard lesson with Wii U, where that whole idea of like, this is the thing.
That was fool's gold.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was like a fool's errand to have this like thing that's supposed to be the hub of your living room, or like this thing that has asynchronous play, whatever. Like all of that stuff was distracting you from the thing that you wanted to do, which is play the video game.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that Switch did not try to do that, because that was a lesson that was very hard learned in the Wii U era. And it's like, yeah, no one wants this. You're developing for something. You're solving a problem that nobody has. The thing that people want to do is to play a game. And the way that we're going to do that is with this thing that's going to get you into playing a game as fast as possible, and the best games ever, and that's what it is.
Right.
Yeah, so that it did make a huge difference. Okay, a few more from me. One is that it just gave a lot of games a new life, like Wii U games. Like
That was what I had that too. Embracing remakes.
Yes, ports and remakes.
Yeah.
Like, thank God. And Switch was around to do that.
Couldn't you also see an alternate reality where they were a bit high-horsey about it, of like, oh, people want original games, like those games came out, they serve their purpose, like they're focused on original games.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But they weren't high-horsey about it.
No.
And they were like, no, we can make an extra buck.
Yeah.
You know what it was? It was Mario Kart 8.
That was
what it was. It was like, that came out of the gate, and it was
that was an early release. Yes.
This is like, I'm printing money. Mm-hmm. I can print more money by doing this really easy thing.
That's what you want to do.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
So they had a good, like, it was like a positive reinforcement.
And there was never like any huge backlash about it. Like
that's why.
Sometimes there were gripes of like, this direct was a little remake heavy, but nobody ever like went full backlash on it.
No.
Like, people were mostly glad to get those games again.
They might say it, but they're going to buy it.
Yeah.
And Nintendo knew that. Mm-hmm. And they still do.
Yeah, and again, that goes back to the earlier point of like this incredible pipeline and these releases. Like, yeah, those are easier games to make. You don't have to redesign those games, and you can put those out and they'll fill gaps, and maybe not in the same way that like a new Zelda would, but it's something and people like it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I had on here that it was pretty affordable compared to other consoles in the generation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's
good.
Less powerful.
Well, it's good to mention in the context of what we might be staring down with the Switch 2.
That's the thing, yeah. Price is going to be a very interesting factor for them to hammer out. And they are very focused on making things affordable for a very broad audience.
Yeah, they do believe in that.
They do believe in that.
But at a certain point, it may not be possible.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's just going to come down to like, what's in this thing? What are the components?
Yeah.
What is the power? What is the guts?
Mm-hmm.
But Switch though, like when we learned the price of the Switch, we were like, okay, this is not bad. Like this is we're okay. We don't have to message around it in some crazy way to sell the value, to sell the to sell it to people. Like, people will see the value at this price. So
okay.
Yeah.
My last one is one that people may push back on. I'm gonna put NSO on this.
Oh, I have this on mine. Retro Game Library on NSO.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the actual online functionality of
I'm
NSO,
which
which needs a significant overhaul. But I think that NSO, the Retro Game Library, has finally hit a point where it is actually pretty impressive.
It's all right. Yeah, it's pretty good.
And it does give you a lot to choose from. It's got most of the bases covered with first-party games. Some of the third-party stuff, you could make an argument for that, but that's out of their control in a lot of cases. And then, again, with them starting to introduce some games that were only in Japan, like, that's an interesting wrinkle.
Yeah.
And it is very affordable when you compare it to other subscription services like Game Pass or PlayStation Plus. It is pretty affordable. So I think we can always have criticisms of NSO, but I do think it's good to take inventory of where it is now in terms of classic games.
Yeah.
And the classic games are always going to mean a lot to Nintendo fans. And I think it's crossed a line recently where it is good now.
I agree. I think it took a while to build up that library to a point where it feels like it is substantial.
I mean, I would have loved if they just put that all from day one. It's all available.
Correct. They're not going to do that, obviously. But now, as of today,
yes.
7.5 years later, as of today, it does feel like the library is pretty deep. You have a lot of different, retro systems represented. We have been, I think, for the last month and a half, pretty much only playing games on NSO. We played Metroid Fusion. We played.
Oh yeah, we've been playing. I mean, we play
Mario
a lot.
and Luigi right now is a Game Boy Advance game. I've been playing tons of, and it's more than ever before.
Yeah.
So it does feel like there's a lot of option in there, and a lot of games that I may have missed.
You've been grinding out these Jet Force Gemini runs.
Oh,
you tell me about
yes.
this all the time.
I have to.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing ever. But yeah, it is kind of amazing that it went from it being this kind of shaky thing to be built up into this. Let's just hope they don't do something stupid.
Yeah.
Just move it over. Move it over.
Please. And keep building from
and
that.
keep building it. Exactly. One last thing on my list is, we talked about how they didn't really have to redesign this thing because it was so good from day one. But it is really nice that they have the light and the OLED. You and I upgraded to the OLED. That screen does make a big difference, especially for someone that plays, primarily in handheld mode. And then I have a lot of friends that play only in handheld mode and love the light. So, you didn't really need the options, but kind of nice to have it. And it feels like there's something for everybody. And then the light is very affordable. Very affordable.
Yeah, it does give them a big, range of potential prices out there, which is good. Wow, this list ended up being a lot longer than I thought. I thought it might be. I thought we would have a lot of just the same stuff.
Yeah.
But we didn't.
Oh, what a great system. They have to say goodbye now.
Well, not right now.
I know, but soon though.
Eventually.
You have to mentally prepare for the goodbyes.
Okay.
And then I will put it in a drawer or in the trash.
You will not. I will not let you put that thing in the trash.
I'm just kidding.
Really.
I won't.
That's really distasteful.
I wouldn't.
It's in poor taste.
I wouldn't do that.
Okay.
I still have all my old Nintendo Switch. This is.
What?
I have the original one.
Switches?
I have the Animal Crossing one. I did pass one down to.
Sure. Well, that's fine. It's still
younger
in use, yeah.
They were using it.
Good.
It still worked great.
Great.
There you go.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, that was fun. Let's talk about some games we're playing, mostly Switch games, honestly.
Yeah.
Briefly, quickly, and in a spoiler-free way, can you touch upon Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga? Because we're holding everything for the spoiler cast.
We really shouldn't be talking about it
so
right now.
So you're at
final boss.
The final boss.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. This game had some ups and downs towards the end.
Uh-huh.
And I continue to absolutely love this game, by the way. I'm not letting the ending sort of sour the experience for me, but the ending is a little rough. The ending battles are pretty rough. Really long, a little.
It's one of those games where
grindy.
The last part feels like it's dragged on a little bit longer than it needs to be.
Yes, but I should be getting, hopefully. I'm in
You better.
I'm in the middle of this boss fight. It is so long. I had to stop in the middle. And I will continue
Save states
on.
and rewinding.
Okay. We can talk about that real quick because we're playing this game on NSO.
You asked me multiple times before we started this, are we playing the Switch remake? And I was like, there is no Switch remake.
There's
a 3DS remake.
There
is no Switch. You asked me 3 times. Are you sure you don't want to play the Switch version? It doesn't exist.
No,
woman.
I meant the 3DS version, but no, you want to play the GBA version, which is fine.
And we will. I have done extensive research on that. We will be talking about that in the spoiler cast.
Great, because I was like, how do you play this game without the rewind? Because it's really hard, right?
You're like Will Smith. It's rewind time.
You abused the rewind too, didn't you?
I totally did.
Especially
on that fight.
Every time you got hit, you're like, nah, I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna do that again. I can jump. Jump over this.
My perfect run with rewinds.
Yeah, with rewinds. Someone should. I'm like, okay.
I was not that. No, I didn't. I was not that
I wasn't doing a perfect
picky.
run.
I was not that picky about it.
I just didn't want to die.
Sure.
So I would like rewind if I was gonna game over,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, that game is pretty tough. Like those fights are pretty tough at the end, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of having a hard time, but yes, I'm enjoying it very much, and it is probably one of the funniest games I've played in a while. I just love that it's so weird and so kind of gross-ish. Do you find it to be grosser than other Nintendo
Trinan
games?
and Beldorf at it again.
Nasty Nate.
Nasty Nate.
he's
Nasty
nasty.
for you got that nickname for a reason. Let me
He's
tell you.
nasty in this game. This game is gross.
Well, you
It,
better
like-
get a pot of coffee going because you might have a long night
No,
ahead
I'm
of you
halfway
here.
through this boss. Halfway through.
You
What,
don't-
what
how
else?
do you know you're halfway?
I feel like I am. It's been fighting him for a long time.
Oh, all right. All right, we got to stop here because you're gonna go
long.
too far.
Yeah.
Nintendo World Championships NES Edition. I picked
Yes.
this up. You did not.
I told you I was going to play yours.
But you did play it a little bit.
Yes.
So, yeah, again, like when this was announced, I didn't really care, and then I got strangely hyped for it. And now that I have played it, I'm going to say that it's perfectly fine.
It's $30.
I am neither super hyped nor really disappointed.
Yeah.
I do find it to be a little bare bones.
Mm-hmm.
There are some things that I wish they could have also put in there. It is primarily a speed run.
That's what
game.
you were saying, and that's what I experienced.
Right. So
as
there's
well.
like 13, I think there's 13 different NES games that are in there.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do is you compete these little bite-sized challenges that are all based on time, based on speed running.
Yeah.
And it keeps track of your times. There's a ghost that you can compete against. So like that part of it's cool. It does have some, I would call them quality of life features if you're more of a casual player. Like if you are playing Mario and you fall down a pit, the game will just rewind you versus like making you start over.
Yeah.
It'll take you back to that
More
point.
rewinding.
I did find out like all those like arrows, those like, I thought that was going a bit far of like, go in this door. You can turn that off. You can turn that off. The assist stuff, it's like, I don't know if this is a competition. Like, should you really be telling the person exactly
where to go,
what and when to do it? I thought that was a bit much, but you can turn it off. And then all of that ghost data gets fed into the different online features.
Okay.
There are challenges that are online where you're competing against groups of ghosts. I think there's another one where you're competing in real time with people as well. It like whittles you down from 8 players down to 1 winner. I did win a couple of those.
In the online?
But there's like 2 different levels of challenge. In the really hard one, I was getting smoked. Like these are like real speedrunners. Like I can't.
Who are the people you were beating? Like a 6-year-old?
Well, there's only 2 levels. Well, there were people who were not alive, clearly. Not like me.
They were not alive.
They were not alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zoomers. This ain't Subway Surfer.
I was gonna say they were practicing their speed run
This
with
isn't
Subway
Surfer
Surfers.
World Championships, okay?
Should do
Well, I would lose at that.
Really?
but-
It's a temple run. It's the same thing.
No. The thing that I wish they could have done is like a lot of NES games were also doing high scores, like scores. Like it would have been nice if they had score-based challenges as well, just
Yeah.
to round it out a little bit. That also could have introduced some other games, I think.
Yeah.
They may have just made a decision of like, well, if these are the games that we want to put in, I don't think they all had a scoring component. So it's like, let's just focus on the time
Yeah.
and just make it that. But I don't know, if you're thinking about all the competitive things you can do in these games, the high score angle could have been good. The big thing people are griping about, and with good reason, is there's no online leaderboards. Oh. So even like amongst friends. So it's like,
Oh, weird.
hey, Krysta, what was your time in this challenge? Like, you would have to actually look it up. There's no way for me in the game to go and find that. So it's a little clunky if people are like posting.
Like,
Like
I
people,
beat you or
people like
whatever.
our friend Jeff Grubb, he's like taking it really seriously, and he's like posting his times, and he's like, "Gosh, why isn't there no leaderboard so I can
Yeah.
just see this?"
That's weird.
That feels like
For a game that is based on scores
Yeah.
and ranking you among others, that's
Right.
called championships and has a spirit of competition, it's weird
Right.
not to have that
right.
feature.
I mean, you get the sense that they made this on a real shoestring budget, so maybe that would have just
but
been
this is like
one
an
thing
easy-
too many. But I don't know.
yeah. It's not my type of
Again,
game.
this is what I'm saying. Very bare bones.
I am very bad at speedrunning.
Yeah.
Very,
We
very bad.
learned that.
Hey. I don't don't like it.
I honestly don't. I'm not big into speed running either.
It's not fun.
So I like the presentation of it.
The presentation is fine.
The vibe of it is cool. I like how
Yeah.
you can unlock all these different badges, which become your icon.
Yeah, that's cute.
It does do this cool thing where you get to identify your favorite NES game. And it is like literally like every NES game. All of them.
Whoa.
And people have been finding like, oh, some people have been having fun, like, oh, this obscure like bad game is actually my favorite one. It's in there.
Okay.
It's neat.
That's neat.
That's neat.
Yeah, there's some like cute little nostalgia angles.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
So and again, it's $30. So I'm not mad at it. It sort of is what it is. I'm probably not going to play it too much more, but I'm glad I have it in my library. I did not get the fancy special edition.
Did you get the physical version?
That is the physical version.
Oh, the
That's
physical
all
version
there
is the fancy one.
Yes.
Oh.
They cost twice as much and has the fake cartridge.
No.
No.
That's too expensive.
I didn't want.
I don't want you to have a bunch of junk.
You don't want me to have it?
No, I don't want. It makes me
wow.
nervous that you have a bunch of like stupid stickers.
Well,
and
I don't
some
have
other
it.
Crap. No.
I don't have it. I didn't want it.
Good.
Yeah.
So you got digital.
Yeah.
I'm happy about that.
Yeah. Which is fine because I'm probably gonna be moving off.
I'm buying neither, but I'm very happy.
And it seems like I
digital.
don't know. I mean, this is just anecdotal, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of huge interest.
There is not a lot.
In
Besides
this game.
Jeff Grubb, I don't know who else is playing this.
Which again speaks to the fact that like these games are old. These games are really old.
No one was born.
Yeah, you just you just put the last nail in your coffin when you admitted this, Nintendo.
Yeah.
Like, how many of your consumers today were even alive or
They're not
gonna
alive.
They're not gonna have an interest in these old games.
They don't care.
It's people like me and Jeff Grubb.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It is people like you and Jeff.
That's
Grubb.
it.
Posting your scores in a screenshot because there's no leaderboard. Everyone else is playing Subway Surfers. What are you
like,
doing?
these people are too old. They wouldn't know how to use an online leaderboard. Take a picture with your disposable Kodak camera and mail it in. That's the only way you can do it.
In like a dark room.
Yeah.
Like,
you would mail these photographs into Nintendo
you know
Power.
What you could do?
What?
Fax it.
Oh, perfect.
Nintendo would love that. Their fax line is still active.
I would
they
buy
would love
an
that.
official Nintendo fax machine.
You would?
Yeah.
Okay.
Another game that I checked out and that I really want you to get. Have you gotten this yet?
I have gotten this.
Thank goodness.
Because you want to play with me on the plane.
I really do.
This is like Hades, the
Teenage Mutant Ninja
game.
Turtles Splintered Fate. This is out. So this is a really blatant Hades ripoff
Yeah,
featuring Ninja Turtles.
Oh.
But what people need to
Roguelike?
What people need to understand is that the idea of a Ninja Turtles skin Hades game is incredibly appealing to me.
So tell me more about how it's Hades skinned. So it's like a thing where you basically...
It's a top-down game. It's a run-based game
Okay.
where you're getting powers through a screen that looks exactly like the Hades one, where you have all these different options that give you these different things. Yes. You get at the end of the room, you get the thing that's flashing, and you can get either some money, or you can get a power-up, or you can get something else. And then once your run is over, you can do all these you can spend all your different currencies to level up different things. Like, it is so just ripping off the Hades formula. Wow. But it's well made. That's the thing. Like, it is well made.
Do you get to choose your turtle?
Yes.
Okay.
And so that is the one thing that's new that it's introducing. It does have multiplayer, which I have not tried yet, and I would like to try that with you.
Co-op or
yes. Oh. Yes. So you go on these runs together. What else would it be?
I don't know. Head to head. You can be head to head.
No.
Speed run? Oh,
no.
Speed runs.
It's not. But it's really well done. Like, obviously I went right to Raphael, and it plays really well, and like the enemies are fun to fight, and the powers are fun to get.
And you get like a big boss battle that you have.
I did a big boss battle. I did a fight against Leatherhead, who's the giant crocodile looking guy,
fun.
and I beat him, and I was like, yeah, that was challenging and that was fun, and the controls are tight and good. I was like, yeah, like I obviously have to knock it for being just, again, a blatant lifting of the creative concept of Hades. But it's pretty fun. So it's kind of in this weird place where you do have to give it some credit, but also knock it for that reason. But I was prepared for this to be pretty bad. And
it was really well made.
As a Ninja Turtles fan, I felt like I should give it a shot, and I'm glad I did.
Wow.
This is cool.
I got it. I haven't checked it out yet, but I'm ready to play multiplayer.
I mean, you'll know exactly how to play.
I will, because I've
long-time
beat Hades.
Hades player. You'll know. You'll be able to jump right into this.
Great.
Yeah.
It's like Hades was my tutorial for Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate. Perfect.
It's all been leading up to this.
This moment.
Thanks, Supergiant Games. Another game that I checked out briefly.
Oh yes.
Kinnitsugami Path of the Goddess, which I wanted to check out earlier, but I was so busy wrapping up Mario and Luigi, I just didn't have a chance. So I'm playing this on the Steam Deck. That's the version Capcom sent me. Thank you, Capcom, for that.
Very cool.
And I got a little bit beyond the demo that you did at Summer Game Fest, but it did let me see kind of like what you do in between levels. And so again, like this is a very unusual type of game where it's kind of like equal parts like character action meets
tower
I would
defense.
say I would say tower defense.
Yeah, I would say tower defense.
I don't like tower defense, so I kind of hesitate to say
but
that.
But it is though.
I think that's the closest thing where you're in these pretty compact stages. There's like a gate that enemies just get spit out of.
Yeah, you gotta place your
and you are
villagers
purging the defilement of these like demons
and protecting the goddesses.
And you're like resurrecting villagers who you can give these different jobs to help you out. And then you also have the goddess who you need to kind of clear a path for her to walk up to the gate. And that's basically how you win, is like if you successfully get her there without, dying, she can clean the gate and the world is purged of defilement.
There was some hot discussion in our ex-Nintendo employee Discord this weekend.
Well, some of them are also ex-Capcom employees.
And
or current Capcom employees.
So current Nintendo,
we've got it all covered.
Ex-Nintendo, ex-Capcom, current Capcom, all in this chat.
We're all covered.
We're all playing. You guys were playing this game, and there was a lot of discussion because there is a level coming up.
Apparently, there's a difficulty spike, which I have not gotten.
You have not encountered yet, but it seems like there was some hot strats being shared.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of strategy around how you do this,
So then in between stages, like there's actually a lot that you can do. You can like rebuild like these stages that you have finished off, and once you finish structures and those, when those are rebuilt, you'll get different power-ups. Like you can choose different augments for your sword, which will give you different attacks. And then the whole presentation is like this very like, ancient like
Japan, like Japan mythology,
Japan mysticism, Japanese mythology. Which it is just very
brush art.
It's just very unique. Like I would say like maybe Okami, if Okami had a more realistic look to it, did not have the shading look to it. And it's really beautiful. It really works. Like I don't know of any other games that are really tackling that specific take on an old Japan type of game.
I agree. I think that art style.
It totally works. I would say this game is probably not for everybody because it's a very specific mashup of things. But
it's really interesting.
I'm really liking it. It's running pretty well on the Steam Deck. I think it's on everything else. It's on Game Pass too.
Yeah. I think mine is a PS5 code, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'll check it out in there.
Yeah. So I'm really liking that.
Love it.
Just hope I can keep making.
I really liked what I played at Summer Game Fest, and I was already interested in the game when they showed it. Earlier when they announced the game, because the art style was very unique, and that really drew me into it. So.
Yeah, I am happy that this game seems to be getting some recognition.
Totally.
Because this could have been just a complete flop. Yeah. Because it is so
niche.
It's just so different from games that are released today. Like these are just like this feels very much like a PS2 game or an Xbox 360 game. Like,
but it's nice that it exists.
Make games like yes.
Please make more games like this.
Yeah.
Developers, because we need the diversity. I think.
Mm-hmm. And then the last thing, I was just like checking out a bunch of stuff, like quick hit style after I finished Mario and Luigi. So in the news we're gonna talk about Famicom Detective Club. So I did finally check out. The one that I checked out was Famicom Detective Club, The Girl Who Stands Behind. Mm-hmm. I did ask in our Discord, like, if you're just going to play one of these,
which
and
one?
I'm probably just going to play one, like, where would you go? And there were actually different opinions on this. So I guess the first one is, the first that was released, but this game, The Girl Who Stands Behind, is a prequel. And some people said that this one has a bit more, gameplay-wise going for it. So that's the one that I went with.
Okay.
And this is a game that came out when we were at Nintendo.
Yes.
And thankfully, I had received codes for. I had forgotten. I was like, I might have turned down those codes.
I think I turned down those codes. I I actually don't remember. I need to look to see what I downloaded.
I was like, there's a good chance I
Did you
said
look
no.
in your Switch library?
Yeah,
It was
and
there.
I totally have
it. Was there.
Both of them. Yeah.
Maybe mine. You know what? I think mine's. I think I actually started one of these.
I think you have these. I don't know.
I think I have these too.
This is maybe more up your alley than mine.
Yeah, I think I might have. I might.
But I just felt like I need to get more familiar with the series. So this is obviously, started on the Famicom.
Mm-hmm.
These first 2 games were released. This second game, Girl Who Stands Behind, they did a remake version of that on the Super Famicom.
I see.
Which is interesting. So yeah, it's really, and it's done by Mr. Sakamoto, who's the creator of Metroid as well. So,
It's like his passion project.
this is, it's an old game, but they've given it a real modern touch. So everything looks really nice. Obviously, there is movement in the graphics, but there's not a ton, and it's not dynamic, so they can make the graphics look really nice.
But it's like visual novel style.
It's a visual novel,
Yeah.
yes. The story seems interesting. It is obviously very, detective oriented. In this one, there's like this dead girl who washes up on a riverbank, and you're like this young detective who's trying to figure out what's going on. It does have like a pretty like ominous mood going for it, and people said like that was really something that the originals had going for it. Was like it was even on that limited hardware, it was like, I don't know if it was necessarily scary, but it had a mood, and it was
Japanese
kind of
horror is like that.
Unsettling.
They do a good job with that. Like when we watch The Ring,
Right.
It's like it has that like very like almost like a psychological type of
Right.
scary nature.
There is voice acting. It's all Japanese, which is fine by me.
Yeah.
Because that's how I wanted to play it. And you can actually choose if you want to go through the updated music, or in this game, the original Famicom or the Super Famicom music. So, I always like to hear the differences.
Yeah, is it good?
All 3 of the versions were pretty good. So
Okay.
I couldn't say there was one that I really
What is
preferred
the gameplay? Is it like
over
just
the other.
point and click?
Well,
or?
it is very much like you have a menu of things that you can do in any situation, like talk, interact,
Okay.
investigate.
Okay.
And that was maybe one criticism I had, was like there's maybe too many things on that
the
list,
list?
and some of them seem like kind of
Was it redundant?
same thing. I can't remember exactly what they were, but it was like there was 2. I was like, I don't know exactly what the difference is between some of these. And then there was one other thing where I was like exploring this crime scene, and then there is a cursor that comes up, and I was like, I need to find what's going to trigger me to move ahead.
Yeah, you couldn't find it.
And there were some things where, like, when I would go over it, there would be like a pop-up of like, oh, this is this, and I would click it and I would get the little explanation. But I was like, I'm not finding anything else. The thing that I needed actually didn't trigger that little pop-up. Like, you just had to know to press it. So I was like, that's kind of a weird way
It's a little cheap.
to handle this. It's like, don't have some things pop up if they're insignificant, and have the actually significant thing just be hidden.
Yeah.
I found a couple like that. But for me, this is like the kind of game that I would play with a guide on hand, so that if I got stuck, I wouldn't get frustrated. I was just like, okay, fine, just tell me so that I can keep
Because you just want to
this
learn
moving.
the story.
You want to get through the story and that experience.
Yeah.
I could see it is a little bit old school in that sense, where
Yeah.
you could get frustrated or stuck.
Yeah, that's what that's what I had heard about these games. So
The thing I was not frustrated by, the text is very snappy.
Oh, fast reader.
And there are a lot of options if you want to go with the text at different speeds.
okay,
Because that is something that is
you don't like that with these kinds of
personally upsetting when the
games. How
text.
is this compared to like Ace Attorney? Because there's
Well,
some
I don't play a
similar-
lot of Ace Attorney.
But you played some,
I've heard people say that it's a lot like that, minus what happens in the courtrooms.
right? Okay.
I don't feel like I should be commenting on that further.
Okay. Oh,
Yes.
like you're also in a courtroom right
Exactly.
now. You
I
abstained.
can't say. I don't recall now.
Abstained.
I plead the 5th on that. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So I'm glad that I just, had a chance to
Are you gonna keep playing?
get a bit more in the know on this series. I would like to keep playing because it seemed interesting and I was enjoying it. There are a lot of games that I want to get through in the next month or so I'll need to see where it fits in. But I would like to do that. I saw that this game itself is like sub 10 hours to get through, so it certainly seems possible.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it scary?
No, again, I did not find it to be scary. There were things about it mood-wise that were upsetting, like you're investigating a murder.
Okay. But it's not like jump scare gory.
No.
Okay. Oof.
No. No.
That's good.
Yeah.
I was scared that I'd be too scared.
This next game, though, this is a great transition to the news.
Here we go.
Emio, we had finally our big reveal of what that was all about. It is a new Famicom Detective Club game. The game is called Emio the Smiling Man Famicom Detective Club, launching August 29th, very soon.
Yeah, very soon.
So these first two games, I think they're rated T. This one's rated M.
Oh.
So they do have a bit more leeway to go a bit more extreme.
More scary.
With the story. I don't know if it will be or won't be.
It says the wording is unmask the truth in a dark, twisted thriller?
Yeah.
That sounds scary.
I think in some of the other countries, like it's not quite all the way M. They have different, gradations of
like
ages.
A PEGI?
Yeah. I think they were like 15 or 16. It might be suited for whatever. I mean, it is this more cartoony kind of like anime style presentation.
That doesn't mean that it's not scary.
I mean, I would say like this versus a Resident Evil style. This is just inherently going to be a little less scary to me, but that's me. I don't know.
That person with the paper bag on its head is not. Yeah. It's very scary.
Okay, I mean, they could just be like a Cleveland Browns fan and they're like embarrassed. That's what they do. They put a bag over their head because their team stinks. Yeah.
Oh, it's like a dunce cap.
Yeah. They're like, we're embarrassed to be seen at this game, so we're putting a bag because our team is bad.
That's mean. You should be
proud
of your bad team.
They do it to themselves.
You should be proud of your bad team. Anyways, they could be Cleveland Brown fans.
Yeah.
Well, if he wasn't, then he's probably a scary, twisted, dark murderer. It's very like, it has like an It quality to it, which I don't like.
But again, nobody knew what this tease was for.
Right, the tease.
A wide range of potential options that were out there.
People
let themselves get swept away
go.
In the excitement. So this is what it is.
See, we didn't let ourselves go. I thought it was going to be Spirit Camera.
Why? There's no camera on the Switch. What camera are you referring to?
I don't know. Who cares? I just knew it was going to be one of these games.
In the wide spectrum of possibilities of what this could have actually been, I think this is a great outcome.
It's fine.
I think this is great.
Yes.
Because I do think there were some outcomes where this is not really a good game. And it's like, no, Famicom Detective Club is not going to sell millions and millions of copies.
But it's going to be good.
But it is becoming, an interesting niche franchise for Nintendo. It has an interesting development history.
Yeah.
It's shepherded by one of the great Nintendo developers.
Yep.
And it is a genre that,
people like.
It does seem to be growing. And it is something, this can be Nintendo's big franchise in this place. So I don't think anybody expected, after 30 years, that we would get another Famicom Detective Club. Got Famicom right in the name.
I know.
And Mr. Sakamoto, they put out a video with him, which I think was smart.
That was great, yeah.
Talking about it. And, he talked about, this is, a series I've been passionate about from the beginning. And I'm extremely involved in this one, and it's such a wonderful thing to be able to bring this to light. So that was really nice to see. We had done our own questioning of why did Nintendo do this tease? What did they, what was their rationale for doing it? And somebody in our Discord, I believe it was Gartooth, made a point when all that speculation was happening. Is maybe there is a really high profile Nintendo developer that just wants to do this, and they're kind of saying no, we have to do this.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting on board with that line
for sure.
of thinking.
Yeah.
Because somebody in marketing, promoting the idea of just
a teaser
a random teaser
would not
get far.
Be approved. Yeah.
But Mr. Sakamoto saying no, this is important to me. I think this is the best way to get people excited in this game, to convey the unique points of this game.
Yeah.
I want to do this. That actually means a lot at Nintendo, and those sorts of requests from those developers get listened to.
Yeah, and they kind of let them call the shots on how best to present their game.
Right.
And especially with someone like Mr. Sakamoto, who has a lot of history with Nintendo and is a very important developer, I think that they would absolutely listen to him.
Yeah.
I did wonder a little bit of why this was not in the last Direct, since the release date is so soon. But maybe there was a fear of it getting lost in there, and they wanted it to have a little bit of light on its own,
Yeah, a lot of people pointed that out of this would have been swallowed up by some of the other things. So it was a good way to bring awareness to that.
Yeah.
I think, then you can make the argument like, well, they should do it for everything then, shouldn't they? if it's bringing in this great attention. So I'm not sure that completely holds water.
No.
My big gripe, the art style of the tease and the reveal are completely different.
Did you feel like you were like bait and switched?
Well, I think a lot of people were, because it's like, oh, this is like a dark, gritty, realistic horror game. And it's this. It's anime. I mean, I think this is actually a good outcome, but as far as like that being the first thing they put out there for a week for people to marinate on and come up with theories.
Wild theories,
like I probably would have raised my hand and said like, yeah, this actually isn't good.
Yeah, that part was...
if you were at Nintendo and you saw that thing and you knew what the actual reveal was,
would definitely,
what would you have said?
I would be concerned.
Yeah.
I would say that. I would 100% say that. I'd be like, you are setting an unrealistic expectation, especially because Nintendo doesn't do teases.
Yeah.
You already know right off the bat, people are going to go wild, and they're going to come up with all sorts of weird
But again, maybe
theories.
this was Sakamoto's wish, and they couldn't say no.
Maybe it was Sakamoto behind the mask in the realistic teaser.
I mean, who knows? I mean, with him doing that video, maybe they'll do Ask the Developer. That'd be cool, and maybe he could talk about why they wanted to do that in the first place, and maybe we'll actually find out. But anyway. This reveal, some people were happy, some people were down the middle, some people were not happy. We did a poll of our Patreon subscribers because I really wanted to find out, like, where do people fall on this?
The scale,
Because people were all over the place on this. So 15% of people said, I am a Famicom Detective Club fan, so I was thrilled with this news. Yeah.
Great. Yes.
41% said, I'm not a Famicom Detective Club fan, but the tease made me interested in this game.
Yeah, okay.
That's a big number, and that was actually the highest response we got. 19% said, I was curious after the tease, but feel disappointed that we're not getting a new horror IP. So these are the people that were, not feeling what this ultimately was. And then 25% said, I wasn't interested then, and I'm not interested now.
Oh, 25%, wow.
So that's interesting to see the breakdown of this. I guess, if you look at it that way, it was a net positive. Because there's 40% of people who probably would not have looked twice at this game if it was just in a Nintendo Direct. They're like, oh, you got my attention. And the number of people who were disappointed is not that huge.
Right.
They'll get over it. They'll learn to live and love again, hopefully.
Maybe not
I'm going to hold this grudge for the rest of my life.
I'm not going to love ever again because of Emio.
Let's look at what people said. Jason Ball 34 says, I'm not interested in the game, but think it's very great and the smart way that this all played out on Nintendo's part. People hadn't heard of Famicom Detective Club, now have heard of it, and I think the trade-off of people who are upset that it's just a visual novel and not a new IP is worth it to Nintendo in the end. People don't talk about Sakamoto nearly enough. He's one of the OGs, and I think it's great that his passion project gets its day in the sun, especially in an era where Nintendo typically prefers to obscure its developers and keep them in the dungeon.
Yes.
Lots of great points made there.
Oh.
Kai X says, horror is my absolute favorite genre of game. While the Smiling Man seemed a little too much like Mono from Little Nightmares 2, the eerie vibes excited me. That Nintendo, of all companies, was advertising in such a creepy and experimental way got me so hyped. And then it turned out to be a visual-styled detective game. My hype level went from 10 to at most a 2.
Oh.
I'll keep an eye on reviews after it releases to see if maybe it surprises me, but any excitement I had leading up to release is non-existent.
Oh.
Yikes.
It's true, though. It is very different than the teaser that you saw.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then finally, Medallion says, I let community speculation gas up my head with unrealistic expectations of something that was hugely unlikely. Nintendo will never develop a super dark, violent, gritty horror game, and it was silly that the community seriously considered it to be true for longer than a second.
It's so true. It's so true. Maybe they will surprise us. In the launch title for like Switch 2 is going to be some gritty, realistic horror.
Real Luigi's Mansion.
Oh. Where there's like guts and gore and that sounds horrible. I don't like that at all.
It's been a lot of time talking about Emio. Let's put Emio on the shelf for a little. Are you going to be getting this game though? Are you going to be playing this game?
I need to see how scary it is.
Oh, you're really worried about? You watch true crime documentaries to fall asleep. I find that to be incredibly scarier than this guy the bag on his head.
Scary. The bad guys. The anime is going to scare me way more. I was telling you that when I was in Asia, I was
Yeah.
watching like weird Asian TV, like Vietnamese TV,
Yeah.
and I accidentally left the TV on like Scary Channel.
Don't do that.
And it was playing some sort of scary like Asian horror.
Yeah.
And it was like anime
Don't do
horror.
that.
I did not like that.
Don't do that.
It's very scary.
There have been some calls for this to be our spoiler cast game for September, where we do have an opening. So maybe you won't have a choice. Maybe you won't have a choice. Maybe that's the game you'll be coming down to the wire in September.
Crying in a corner because it's too scary.
Let's move on. Nintendo has revealed a new Joy-Con charging accessory. I will read the tweet here. Joy-Con charging stand, two-way, a device dedicated to charging Joy-Con controllers as well as Nintendo Entertainment System controllers for Nintendo Switch is releasing October 17th.
Nice.
And it's this kind of, stand-up thing that looks kind of like
the grip.
The Joy-Con grip, but it can stand on its own, and you can plug it right into the USB port of the dock, and it can fit 2 Joy-Con, hence the two-way.
Oh, two-way.
I'm not sure why they needed to specify that.
Why do they have to say it like
Is
that?
it available any other ways? No, then don't say
One
it.
way? Four-way?
I mean,
Four-way?
I have seen some third-party ones that have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Ways. Okay.
At first, I thought this was going to be a Japan-only release, because I think NOA and NOE were a little bit later to put out their tweets, but no, this is a global accessory.
Yeah.
And it is a bit of a strange thing to be putting out there at this point in the life cycle. We did have, I think it got discontinued, but do you remember the charging grip?
Yes.
Which was basically the same thing.
Right.
But it was in the Joy-Con grip form. It just had a little plug so you could charge while you play.
People buy that?
No. And I'm not going to buy this.
Yeah.
Now,
backwards compatible?
this has, like everything else,
the conversation.
like everything else, like Emio, like every other thing that gets announced by Nintendo, has opened the door for conversation about Switch 2.
Open the door.
And there are a lot of people who have convinced themselves that this is part of the Wii U ramp up, or excuse me, the Switch 2 ramp up, and that this confirms backwards compatibility. Joy-Con will be compatible, but you're going to need something to charge it on, so you might as well get this now. How do you feel about this?
Here comes the magnets. Here come the magnets.
The magnets are coming.
The magnets are coming.
How do you feel about this?
That line of thought?
Yes.
I wouldn't put too much stock in it.
Oh, really?
You are putting stock in it?
I thought I saw that you said that you did earlier, and I'm glad you're denying that, because I think that's a little silly.
I think it's ridiculous.
If that's the case, they would not be doing this now.
Right. They'll do it when it comes out.
When they announce it, they can do all the things.
Right.
They will have time to do all the things.
Yeah.
They do not need to announce this at a random day in
selling
July.
you
This is
some
just some
random-
nonsense they
they're
cooked
gonna
up.
sell you some stuff.
This is just some nonsense they cooked up, yes.
Yeah, they're going to sell you some stuff.
I don't want this. I'm not interested in this. Let's stop talking about it, please.
Okay. Chibi Robo?
I don't. Yes, next story.
I love this.
Some ex-Chibi Robo developers have announced a game that is a spiritual successor.
Yes.
And it's called Karobo.
I can't wait.
So
Kickstarter.
this is
Let's
by some of
go.
the ex-developers from Skip, who made the original Chibi Robo. And it's going up on a Kickstarter. It's, as of recording, it's not yet up, but I have a feeling this is going to get filled up real fast.
Yeah.
And they have a trailer, and it's like, yeah, that's
Chibi
That's
Robo.
a Chibi Robo.
That's a Chibi
That's a Chibi Robo. Just like when I saw that Ninja Turtles game, that's a Hades. this is a Chibi Robo.
Is it on fire? No.
Is this going to get a cease and desist? That's what I was
Nintendo
wondering.
can't do that.
It
right?
really looks a lot like Chibi Robo.
Let's pull it up. I'm going to look at it. Right
Karobo?
now. Yeah, Karobo. Let's see.
I mean, just look. It's like, it's
It's
very
a little
much.
rounder.
It's a lot like Chibi Robo.
Oh, it's so cute.
Maybe there's like a side-by-side.
Oh gosh. Okay, yeah. So I'll put this in the video if there is a side by side. Oh, here it is. 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 Here it is.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, look at that. It's got the same kind of like Funko Pop eyes. The same like.
But it has a belly
flattened-
button.
It has a belly button. Well, look, electronics have changed in the 20 years. Now you're doing a direct cord into your tummy. You have a button. It's very similar. And who knows? Maybe this is like a Pal World situation where it's like, yeah, you can actually get away with this.
It's
But
just like a generic robot.
I don't know.
They better not
Karobo? What?
cease and desist them. That's so mean. Don't do it. That's bad for your image.
I mean, again, feel free to make a real Chibi Robo game if you feel certain ways about it.
Yeah, but you
Go
didn't.
ahead.
You didn't make it.
You have the means and the ability.
You didn't make one, so now
But you
guess
didn't.
what? Karobo it is.
Nature finds a way, and it's produced Karobo.
I want to play this badly.
I was really surprised when we were talking about GameCube games, and you were like, Chibi Robo is one of my favorite GameCube games.
It is.
I was a little skeptical when you said that.
It is, though.
Honestly.
I really love Chibi Robo. You don't know anything about me. Look how cute it is. Look a little kissy, yeah.
Tiny Hero, Karobo.
I'm so in on this.
Well,
it's a little rounder. It's a little rounder.
It's rounder. Again, technology has advanced in 20 years.
I think it's very
Karobo
cute.
is environmentally conscious, doesn't need wires, wireless charging, wireless everything.
Oh, wireless charging.
Yeah.
Like a little mag strip, like a little magnetic feet, maybe?
Okay, so you're excited about this.
I'm very excited.
All right, I'm glad to hear that.
I'm very excited about this.
In non-Nintendo news, I think we chose a great year to go to Tokyo Game Show this year.
so,
It
too.
feels like there's going to be a lot happening.
Yes.
And
this is exciting.
something that we can look forward to is that the Like a Dragon team, Ryuga Gotoku Studio, has said that their next game is going to be revealed at Tokyo Game Show.
Woohoo!
Get excited.
I'm hyped.
What do you think this is going to be?
I don't know.
You don't know. You have no theories, you have no ideas, you have nothing?
I mean, maybe I don't know.
Well, let me help you. So they have said that this will not be Yakuza Kiwami 3, which is a remake of
Right.
Yakuza 3.
Yes.
So it won't be that. Do you think it's going to be a full-on... The thing...
No, I don't think I think it's going to be in the scope of an Ishin.
Well, that was also a remake.
In a mid...
That was a pretty big game.
But I'm not saying it's a small game. I'm just saying that it's not going to be a direct sequel to Yakuza 8 or whatever.
It's not going to be the next big one, you think?
No, I don't think.
Okay.
It's too soon.
So that game just came out earlier this year.
That's
That
what I'm
is a little
saying.
bit soon. The thing that they do make a lot of games really quickly. This is a
What
studio
are
where
they
it's
doing?
It's like you can make. You're just cranking these things out.
You made a 200-hour game
And they're
with
really
100-hour mini games within it in a year.
So
How?
I don't know exactly. Yeah, that's probably what I would say is it's some spin-offy side story-ish thing.
Maybe with one of the characters that we know and love from 8.
Okay.
Not Kasuga.
Interesting.
Somebody else.
Interesting. I mean, there's a lot of timeline to fill in the blanks.
That's true.
On. So I don't know. I'm excited about this.
I'll play anything. Just give it to me.
Hopefully, we can get invited to some sort of. I remember the times that I went to Tokyo Game Show was when Yakuza was popping on the scene, and it was a bigger franchise in Japan than it was in America.
Of course, yeah.
Their booths are incredible and ridiculous. It's we turned our booth into the Hostess Club.
Yes!
And you can take pictures with the hostesses.
Where's the soap land?
There's a giant throne that you can go up to in the Hostess Club.
Yes. Pop the champagne.
What is happening?
I'm here for this.
It's amazing.
I'm buying the bottle service. It's going to
Yes.
be great. Let's go to the soap land. Awesome.
There we go. That's
go.
something to look forward to. But it feels like this is going to be a good Tokyo Game Show.
And Monster Hunter year. Monster Hunter
it's
year.
a Monster Hunter year. Tokyo Game Show is usually a show where there's a lot of hype for nothing.
I've never been, so I wouldn't.
But it feels you've paid attention.
I know, but I don't think you can get the sense of it.
There's a lot of holdouts of wait for TGS, this is going to happen, and then nothing happens. Oh. Things are going to happen.
Well, they already said it's going to happen.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Ow.
That's the news.
Wow.
Pretty good news week.
Wow.
Let's look ahead to some questions from our community. We get each and every question from our Patreon family, so thanks to everybody who sent one in. Check us out at patreon.com/KitandKrysta. You got early access, exclusive content, everything in between. It's incredible. Yeah. Check out a free trial if you're interested.
That's true.
Yeah.
We got those.
Start with a question from Tusku. Hi, Kit and Krysta. I'm curious to hear your interpretation on the M rating for Famicom Detective Club 3.
Okay.
Do you think this is Nintendo opening the floodgates to greenlighting more M-rated pitches in-house, or is it simply out of courtesy for the wishes of one of their most respected senior staff members, Yoshio Sakamoto?
I don't think it's a floodgate situation, but I do think Nintendo, at this point, with such a broad audience on Switch, they're very interested in a very wide spectrum of games. They're interested in games that's hitting every kind of person that's playing a Switch, and they realize that the audience is probably very diverse in their gaming taste, and probably ranges from a lot of different ages, and they know that there's going to be a place for an M-rated game as much as there is a place for an E-rated game. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be like, yes, now it's time for all M-rated lineup for Switch 2 or anything like that.
I mean, what they want is a rating that's appropriate for the audience that they want for the game.
Yeah.
And you know, for the game like this, like again, we were just saying, like this is a pretty niche series.
Yeah.
So whether this gets a T or an M, it's like you're not really negatively impacting the sales. It's
exactly.
Like, you know, little Timmy's not asking mom for Famicom Detective Club for his birthday.
He might be.
I don't think he is. Whereas, you know, we definitely remember other situations where there were big mass market games. And it's like, we're kind of right on the line between like a T and an E10.
And we would love an E10.
And like, we're kind of coaxing things in a certain direction, but we won't know until we get this rating.
Yeah,
and we're kind of on pins and needles.
That's true. And they're like, we took out like this one thing.
Yeah, like there were some things that we think could put us over, so we proactively
took those out.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
This is not one of those situations. They're like, yeah, we'll take the
like
M rating.
Smash was one of those.
Yeah.
Where we didn't know. And we were like, we really would love an E rating.
Yeah, because again, the audience for that is very large and huge. It's like, yes, we want everybody to feel like
here's
they
the
can
characters that
pick this game up.
Flip it over, you know?
Right,
yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So, no, I don't think they're too worried about this. And for a game like this, I think it's, you know, it's fine for them. But it's when you get into that, you know, real bread and butter Nintendo franchises realm where
that matters.
It does matter,
Yeah.
and they want to make sure that they're reaching the full audience.
Right.
Wario Tush is next. Another question on Famicom Detective Club. Seeing Yoshio Sakamoto talk about his experiences with Famicom Detective Club, it was clear how proud he was of the series and that he was grateful for the chance to make this third one. It had me thinking, many of Nintendo's top creators are getting up there in age, and there's a strong chance that the successor to the Switch will be the final console that they produce games for. It's sad to consider, but it also means the work we see from them in the next years will be truly the last grand hurrah for them. And it'll be so inspiring to see the culmination of their respective lives' work come together in a final console run.
Wow.
Do you think this is a likely scenario, or will Miyamoto and the gang be designing Super Mario Wonder 10 in a future Nintendo company nursing home?
Yes. Can I be admitted in? Yeah, it's so true, right? There is this sort of old guard that is, you know, the time makes fools of us all, and it's passing. The good thing about it, though, is they are very good at training up the new guard.
Yeah.
And that's where I have a lot of confidence in the ability of Nintendo to continue to hold on to their unique way of developing games and their unique DNA and what makes the secret sauce of a Nintendo game. I think that sauce recipe is passed on very diligently by the old to the new. So that part of it I feel pretty good about. I do see, I have the same feeling as Wario Tush, where there's a little twinge of sadness that like this era of these great, you know, just goats developers are maybe ending because they have to retire at some point. And I just hope for them that whatever timeline they're on between now and when they retire, they're able to just do the thing that they love to do. You know, I think it's so great that Sakamoto is making another Famicom Detective game. Clearly, this is something that he is so passionate about, and he gets to do it. So, like, whatever whims these people have, that they're like, I want to make this game. I'm really passionate about this. This is going to make me really happy. I hope Nintendo just lets them cook.
Well, that's the good thing about Nintendo is like, yeah, if they have something that they are passionate for, in most cases they can do it.
Yeah.
Now, if he said Famicom Detective Club is going to cost $200 million, it might be a different story. But guess what? It's not.
It probably won't.
And, you know, I think in most cases the things that they want to do is pretty close to what they've been doing. It might be a different take or a different creative execution on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, compared to some other companies that might just be really hardline with the budget or the whatever, I think these...
Or like you have to grind Fortnite updates forever.
I think these devs do have that freedom, which is great.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think this was a viral tweet from, I think it was Andy Robinson of VGC who was making this point, and people were getting preemptively real sad about it. I don't think these people are just going to retire when they hit, like some of them are past 65.
Mr. Miyamoto's past 60.
There is a retirement age at Nintendo.
There is.
where most people do retire.
Yeah.
But
I think you don't have
we
to.
know of some people who
Skirted that.
and they're like, well, I can't do the things that I'm not allowed to go on like a business trip.
That's right.
Heard.
Yeah, but I can
can't do
still
that.
I can still come and work.
But I can still work and I still have this job.
Yeah. There's they limit what you can do.
Right.
I think just so your hours are a little bit more managed.
Now there's no limit for Mr. Miyamoto. He can do what he wants.
Well, he's Mr. Miyamoto.
But my point is these guys I don't think these guys are going anywhere whilst they are still physically and mentally capable.
That's what I'm saying.
This is what they love to do. They're going to keep doing it for as long as they can.
Yeah, but there's going to come a point where they cannot.
Right, but it's not like saying okay, the Switch 2 is going to go off the market and all 10 of these people are going to just retire all at once. It's not going to be like that.
It's not going to be like that,
Right.
but they all are getting up there in age,
sure.
and that's what I'm saying. You don't know. They're all very healthy, wonderful, happy people, it seems. So I'm sure they'll be fine, but just don't know. You're an old man, so
Yes.
I don't know. Anything could happen.
Yeah, but that point about the company being in good hands is very true.
Yes.
And I think around the end of our run, everybody was feeling very confident about that in a way that we did not when remember that first Mr. Miyamoto retirement scare.
We have to tell that story.
Well,
keep it to yourself.
Well,
for
we're
now.
going to have a two-sided, hopefully, story
We will.
about that.
We absolutely will.
When that happened, people were real scared of has this been properly considered?
Yeah. Now it's much better.
But it really has been.
I think ever since the Splatoon days, that's when we realized, okay, it's going to be all right. There's a new guard coming, and they've all been very well taken under the wings.
Yeah.
And they're all understanding how this is done. Whatever magical hypnosis are given to you as a new employee at Nintendo, they got that. So,
Yeah. Jason Ball 34 was something that could have been in the news, but it was better here. Does Nintendo use CrowdStrike? If so, what do you think things looked like in the office the other day? Chaos, contingency plans being enacted. I saw on X that even Sakurai got a blue screen.
Uh-oh.
So this is related to the big kind of global
outage,
IT outage that happened on, was that Friday morning
Friday.
when all the flights were canceled?
Yeah, we were both we're so lucky that we got home from our vacations.
But it seemed like a major world event.
Yes.
And yeah, it was pretty amazing that it even impacted people's personal computers.
Yeah.
If you're on a Windows machine.
Right.
You're
I actually tried to move some money around in Venmo, and that didn't work.
You're trying to run some scams?
No, not at all. I was trying to pay somebody.
I was trying to embezzle some company funds and it wouldn't let me.
They wouldn't.
Don't do that.
I was trying to move money into our Cayman account, and it wouldn't let me.
We thought we were going to get off this scot-free of this doesn't affect us.
You were very nonchalant about it.
I mean,
you were like, whatever, who cares?
By the time
seems to have passed.
I don't know, by the time I woke up, it was it seemed to have come and gone of these flights are back, okay. But then we tried to do a Starbucks mobile order, and that would not work.
Went
and
south.
it was chaos at the Starbucks. I couldn't believe it.
It was kind of chaotic at the Starbucks.
So I was a victim of this.
Yeah.
Nintendo is a very Windows-heavy company.
They're definitely
There are some people who are on
affected by
Mac, but you need to have a reason
Yeah.
to get a Mac.
We had to have a reason to get Macs.
It was annoying for me. I eventually got a Mac at the end, but it was really annoying.
We didn't get a Mac until 2 years
And I think I had to
before
have
we
my
left.
boss send a note.
Yeah.
Knock it off and give him this Mac.
I think you had to send a note from me. Knock it off and give her the Mac. She needs to edit videos and do things.
The
on
takeaway
social
is that
media.
Nintendo's IT is not their strongest team, so I'm
Oh
sure
my
this was a
gosh.
complete disaster.
It was a disaster.
And good thing it happened on a Friday because maybe just
Maybe
I'm
clock out.
going fishing.
They also have these systems that are really badly operated, running on really bad OS that the company lives and breathes on, approving fund, purchase orders, those kind of really boring
it's
things.
Real creaky. It's very old.
It's creaky on a good day. You know what I mean? Submitting your expense report, your time cards, those really boring things. But you kind of need to do that, or else you won't get paid, or your stuff won't get approved. I feel like that stuff totally went down.
Yeah.
And you just were unable. And sometimes things will get down to the wire. I need this contract approved. And to get this contract signed by a Doug Bowser, you need to send it through this internal system that runs on this bad OS.
Right.
And I bet you anything that went down.
I haven't seen a list of literally everything that was impacted, so I don't know exactly. But I think it was
I bet you anything
I think it was a
that
pretty
went
rough
down.
day over there.
Oh boy! And then they
Because what are you gonna do? What can you do?
Nothing.
Contingency plan. There's
You,
no
you
contingency
can you
plan.
can take that contract in your hands.
Work on your phone?
No, you can't. They won't let you do that. You can't. They won't sign it that way. You have to go through that system.
I don't know.
Yeah, you just can't. You can't do anything. Just go home.
In the words of Reggie, not my problem. Paul Gale's next. Hi, Kate and Krista. As of July 11th, Nintendo Switch is now the longest-lasting Nintendo console before having a successor arrive, currently at 2,687 days.
Wow.
Dethroning the Famicom and counting. As long as the successor to the platform comes out March 4th, 2025 or later, it will also surpass Xbox 360's record of 2,922 days. This is mostly just a fun fact, but for the question part, when do you think the earliest we'll get Switch 2 is? I'm hoping no sooner than March 7th because of the historical magnitude. And then we have here the chart of all of the systems and dates.
Whoa.
And yeah,
That's crazy.
the Xbox 360 date stands out to me here.
Yeah.
That is noteworthy. And
Very noteworthy.
they really did ride that out.
It's a good system.
Yeah, and I think they were smart to have done that.
When you have a hit, you don't want to come off
Right.
it too fast, obviously,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, what this speaks to is that Nintendo did what they said they would. They said they would rethink the traditional console life cycle.
Correct.
They said that many times from an early date,
Yes.
and they did it.
And they did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of days though. 2,687 days. Whew. Yeah, I don't feel like it's going to come out earlier than March 7th. I think Switch 2?
I believe March 3rd is when the original Switch was released in 2017.
You don't think you're going to be on the nose, do you?
I'm just saying, if there's still a window where they could announce it this year and have it out early next year.
Paul, but your records though.
Paul's records.
Don't do it. Do it for Paul.
Do it for
Save it
Paul.
till March 10th or
Yes.
something.
One day later.
One day
It's
later.
like the Price is Right rule.
Yes, don't go over. Go under. Yeah.
$1,001.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, but yeah, March probably sometime in March is my
Yeah.
guess still.
We got Pseudo Priest next. Hi, Kit and Krista. Hope you're enjoying your vacation.
We're back.
As people with experience in social media and marketing, perhaps Krista Moore, she was part of the team that launched social media efforts at Nintendo. How do you decide when a social media platform has grown enough to warrant a presence there? Both in the case of a company like Nintendo and now as a business, both with the podcast and consulting. In the same vein, what would be your reasoning behind leaving a platform, either because of changes in the way the company or their algorithm operate, changes on the terms of service, etc.? Somewhat related, as part of your work in marketing and social media, what is your opinion on the Fediverse? Mastodon and Blue Sky being two popular platforms, Threads on their way to joining it, and decentralized media that is slowly but surely becoming mainstream. Do you see Nintendo having a presence there in the near future?
Yeah, when we first launched social media, it was a different time. You know, there wasn't
There were
that
a lot
many.
fewer choices.
I was going to say there weren't very many options, so it was easy for us to decide the biggest ones that people were already on were going to be the ones that we were going to be on, which was Facebook and Twitter at the time, and YouTube. But when you took over as the director for social, you had to make lots of these kinds of decisions all the time, and people would come at you all the time and be like, why aren't we on this platform?
Yes.
Why aren't we on that platform? And then, you know, when we launched the secondary Instagram account, even that was a huge to-do. So it was a lot different when there were more choices. I also remember that one year we launched Snapchat for E3. That was really interesting. We always knew that was going to be like a finite thing. We'd launch it for E3 and for these other things happening around E3, then we'd shut it down. I don't think Nintendo does, especially after you took over.
That still exists, though.
But they don't support it, do they?
They just did that filter for, I forget what
But
the
they
launch
don't make
was.
original content for it.
No.
Yeah.
No. Well, that's the problem.
Is that you can't.
No. So you need to ask yourself, like, what is the audience I'm reaching on this new platform that I'm not already reaching through the other platforms? And then do I have a long-term plan for supporting this? Because that's the worst thing you can do is make a new account and then not have anything
Leave it behind
to speak for, especially when you're a huge company like Nintendo. People have expectations.
The big conversation right when you were leaving that you were kind of happy to leave behind, I think, was TikTok.
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of interest in that, and there was a lot of good reason to do it, but Nintendo still does not have a TikTok account, so I guess, they didn't, meet the criteria for all of those, or there were some doubts or concerns, and, with TikTok, there's always the will they or won't they, will it get banned, there's all of that stuff, which I would be surprised if it did, but it sounds scary for people who are
scary.
making a decision of like, oh my God, I don't want to get swept up in that, so let's not do that. I don't know the reasons why, but they have, you know, other things that they do. They can do short form video on, and they seem to use that pretty sparingly. So I just don't think.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. It's like it's a resources question too. It's like, can we create the content that this platform needs?
People, it's so surprising to me. This happens across the board every single time, even now. And especially at Nintendo too, where it's like everybody just thinks it's so easy to run these channels.
Yeah.
And it's so far from the truth, where like to run a successful TikTok account takes so much time and so many resources. The amount of content that you have to output is unbelievable. Yeah. And people are like, oh, I'm on social media. I can make a 30-second video, no problem. It's so easy, but it's so hard. And so many people fall into that trap of like, I'll just start this account, no problem. I can totally support it. And then you realize you're completely overwhelmed.
And you think Nintendo was like, oh, well, they have infinite resources. That shouldn't be a problem. It's like, they really don't.
They really don't.
And, you know, there's one team that makes all the video assets, and they're great, but they're getting requests from literally everybody in the company.
Yeah.
So things get backed up. And, like, sometimes I'll see them post a random thing out of the blue. I'm like, that's probably something that got backlogged that they've just got to.
They just got that, but it's like 3 months late.
Yeah, it's like, but we have it, so we might as well post it. But
and these social media channels, they really flourish from trends and like current conversation. So you really have to be, it's like a really hard job. Like you have to be on top of it. You not only have to know what's going on, be following all the time, and then, but you also have to be able to produce, like literally turn a piece of content around in like sometimes hours, minutes. To be successful on these. So, it is a tough job.
So, you know, when Threads came up about a year ago, like, there were a lot of people pointing out, like, oh, gosh, Nintendo is really missing out by not jumping on Threads and ditching Twitter like a lot of people were doing at the time. But, you know, where's Threads now? Like, it's definitely...
It's there, but not really.
It's there, but it's in the background for a lot of people, and it's more of a secondary platform.
Yeah.
And from Nintendo's perspective, it's like, well, there's some weird stuff happening now, but it'll probably... right the ship at some point, which it kind of did. Mm-hmm. And they're like, we have like 12 million subscribers there, which took us a long time to get to, so let's not just throw that away.
Right.
And that's still going to be an important thing for us.
It's really different from a brand perspective on social. It's like you have spent so much time, resources, money growing your audience on certain platforms. It's not going to be like you're just mad at Twitter this one day because you got a mean comment, you're just going to delete it. Like, they're not going to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's like not a reaction that they're going to have. And that's sort of like the opinion on the, you know, more decentralized media too, is like it takes so much time, resources, and money to support a platform.
Right.
They're only going to go with a sure thing. Like these platforms, while they may be emerging, there's no guarantee what their future is going to be. And a company like Nintendo is not going to invest in something like this that doesn't have like a clear future yet, you know?
As for the part two of this question about the Fediverse, I'm a little skeptical because you have 3 platforms that are all trying to be basically Twitter replacements.
Yeah.
So it's like you kind of need one to emerge as a winner.
Right.
And I think people were trying to play that game last year of like, well, if Twitter implodes, like what is the one that I'm going to jump on? And it seems like it's just like small groups of people on all 3.
Yeah.
And then the point about them being unified, it's like, again, with them being background, like secondary channels, like the path for that to becoming a mainstream technologies feels a little bit far away, unless one of these other bigger platforms decides to adopt it.
I still haven't been completely convinced too about like the empty threats around Twitter. Like people are like, I'm never going to, I mean, some people have left. Sure.
Some have, yeah.
But like, so many people, like you and I talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
Like they're so hopelessly addicted to Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely addicted to social media. Like I can't stop scrolling on my phone either. I'm not gonna, be like on a high horse
doom
about
scrolling?
it.
Back to doom scrolling?
Yeah.
We're back.
We're back to doom
so back
scrolling.
on doom scrolling.
Got Animal Crossing in one hand, doom scrolling in the other. It's 2020 again, people.
Back in the saddle.
I'm back in bed, crying under the covers. It's time. Where's the orange day? Whatever. But yeah, it's like, is this an empty threat? Or is it really happening?
Well, it's been happening for a year plus. So.
But nothing's happened in a year plus.
Exactly.
So it's like, well, what is actually happening?
Right.
Right. Anyway, social media is a weird place. I love to hate it. Can't live with it, can't live without it. So here we are.
Last questions from That Connor Guy. Hey, Kit and Krysta, a while back you commented on some retailers like Amazon and Walmart not selling copies of Nintendo games online, and you didn't seem too concerned. Recently, I've seen a tweet that summarizes that no Nintendo title or shop cards have been available on Amazon since March. See below. Do you think there's more going on now? I experienced this because when I was in Korea, I needed to top off my eShop, and on Amazon, there's nothing. They have no Nintendo products like on Amazon.
In Korea?
On Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon.
.com.
You were in US Amazon.
Yes. And I was like, because that's usually where I get, I buy like some eShop credit. Gone. Not there. And I couldn't buy the Korean one because I think that you need a Korean account. It goes into a Korean account. So it's not like I could buy it and put that into mine. I was like, what do I do? And I think I went on to like Target.com somewhere. I was like,
Walmart.
This is weird. And it worked out. But yeah, there's a big fight happening.
Oh yeah, they're not getting along. Something happened.
Yeah.
Like the retail team and the Amazon retail rep, whatever, they are fighting about something. I think it's about allocation.
Yeah, and I mean this would happen from time to time, these little fights, and it'll get resolved, but yeah, it does suck.
It impacts
if that's your retailer of choice, like it is for me. Like I get everything on Amazon.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's not great. But yeah, I mean, Amazon is big enough that they can push back, unlike some of these other retailers.
Exactly.
On Nintendo, they're bigger than Nintendo, so they don't. That's where
like the
fights are more
retailers.
likely to happen when one side, the leverage is more equal.
Yes.
And they definitely have a lot of leverage.
They're
so
100% fighting about allocation of Switch.
Fighting about something, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
There are your questions.
Yeah, interesting stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so we have reached almost the end, but let's shout out some of our wonderful Patreon subscribers, shall we?
All right.
Starting with the final boss, Aaron Hash.
Finally.
Oh, we can finally point to him
Look
again.
into that fox's eyes one more time.
Oh,
yes.
yes. Gaze deeply. It's so nice to be back where I have a thing to point to and just not a blank wall. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, now for our superstars. Ben Eichhorn,
Myra Mayhem.
Eigenverse,
Kiss My Flapjack.
Mike Chin,
Roy Eschke.
Switching It Up _,
VGM Life.
Link, the hero of wins,
Angela Bycroft and her pig Molly.
Thomas O'Rourke,
Kyle LaBeouf.
Roberto Nieves,
Frederick Ulf Conradson.
Andrew Uhas,
Chili.
Bruce Dash,
Simon.
Crashuri,
Master Discord.
Ash,
Ajay Kunlas.
40 gig. Wow, this
Wow.
the ranks of the superstars.
It's
Luma
growing
Squad.
It is growing fast, honestly.
I love them all. You guys are the best. Secret chats happening all the time in Discord with the superstars. All right, One Up Club. Here we go. Abram Burgundy,
Ale Alejandro.
Astro Dev,
Awesome 46.
Bad Moon Horizon,
Benji B.
Big End Gamer with a Y,
Bookem Dano.
Bookishly Fab,
Brandon Cavapel.
Brent Coco,
Brent Dennison.
Brooke Obscura,
Brovac Novak.
Call the Space Cowboy,
Cameron.
Shadir,
Shelly Squirrel.
Chris Cube,
Crispy Saurus.
Christopher Lay,
Christopher Thompson.
Captain Alex,
Crimcat.
Christabel,
C. Roper 17.
Dachshund,
Doinko.
Elite Peach,
Espars 50.
Fart Priest 69,
Fairbound.
Fernie and Jess Forever,
Fox Deploy.
Garth the Wolf,
Gartooth.
Guilty Phoenix, 42,
Heroic.
Iris Marin,
Ivancito.
Jay Rando,
Jack Hovick.
Jeffrey Hernandez,
Jesse Hernandez.
Joe Encarnacion,
Jonathan Rowe.
Jordan Collette,
Jordan Hemmerly.
Joshua Clements,
Juji Fruit.
Justin Lemminger,
Kawa 2796.
Keith Kwan,
Kevin Delane.
Kilo Kibo,
Christopia Party With Me.
Kyle Gamer Barry Rookie,
Kyle Kretzer.
Lazy Cat for Coffee,
Lex.
Lit,
Lynn.
Macho Potato,
Mad Dog 5981.
Magnificent Easy G plus Callie Marie,
Marky Man 64.
Mario Man 392,
Mbukara.
Mecha Dragon 101,
Megan.
Michael Cravens,
Mikey.
Mr. Ryan 07,
Motomania.
Mr. Andy Pond,
Mr. Beansenden.
MSN Poke Gamer,
Mytran.
Nasir,
Nathan Burkhart.
Naif E,
Ninja 11.
Pangy,
Pascal.
Posse Pace,
Paul Gale Network.
Prime Factor,
Prince Charmless.
Raver,
Rain Tech.
Record Rumble,
Ryuji Utsuhu Oko.
Ryoth 1,
Rob.
Roman Roman
Come on.
Klaczynski, sorry,
Rox.
Ryanetta,
Sakura Sky.
Sheriff Jackson,
Shinri.
Schmills,
Slowbro.
Schnazzle,
Spacey Poo.
Spicy Munchkin,
Steel Citron.
Swimmy Fish,
Tales of Link.
Tay120 and 64.
Teal Fox 64.
The Kager.
The Shark Among Men.
Thomas Alvarez.
Three Rivers.
Timmy V.
Torcheeks.
Totally Joette.
Travis Torline.
Trick Jowie.
Tugs Puppy Bear.
Tuscoop.
Tyler Geis.
Video Game Stupid.
Vidge Mictor.
Viridian.
Virtual Bot.
Weeb Kingdom.
WG Grizzy.
YU.
Wicked Davy.
Will Johnson.
Zelgarou.
Zapatty. And Zroid.
You just did the last two by yourself?
Yep, I sure did. What are you going to do about it?
What?
I wanted to say, and Zroid.
Okay, call on your own number on the Patreon shoutouts. That's new.
That's what I do.
Okay. It is truth though. We are at an all-time high of Patreon subscribers.
Thank you.
Don't know what drove that, but thank you all very
guys
much
are the
because
best.
this is how it's keeping this all afloat. So thank you.
Truly. If you want to continue to keep this afloat, please
What's
join
with the
us.
if?
When?
Not if, but when.
Wait, is it why? Well, I don't know. Anyways, join us on patreon.com/KitandKrysta. You get lots of free stuff. It's great.
Yes. And if you're watching on video, you can go ahead and subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up and leave us a comment, please. And if you are listening on audio, you can also subscribe. Give us a 5-star rating and leave a written review, if you please.
And we're on the socials. We're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and Threads.
Mm-hmm.
All right, don't forget about the beautiful merch. We'll put the link in the description. Get it before it's gone in September. It's very cool. And we'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.